some of the hottest cars New York has ever seen. From dropping some of the hottest verses rappers ever heard. From the dope spot with the smoke, fleeing the murder scene, you know me well. From nightmares of a lonely cell, my only hell. But since when y'all brothers know me to fail? Heck no, we're all my brothers with the rubber grips for shots. And if you with me, mama, rub on your tits and whatnot. I'm from the school of the hard knocks. You must not let outsiders violate our box in my pot. Let's stick up the world and split it 50-50, Let's take the dough and stay real taking, And sip the Chris and get pissy, flowing beneathly like the memory of my brother Biggie, baby. You know it's hell when I come through. The life and times of Sean Carter, brother, volume 2. Y'all brothers get ready. It's the hard knock life for us. It's the hard knock life for us. Instead of treated, we get tricked. Instead of kisses, we get kicked. It's the hard knock life. It's the hard knock life for us. It's the hard knock life for us. Instead of treated, we get tricked. Instead of kisses, we get kicked. It's the hard knock life.
All right. Good to see you guys. Hopefully, you're all having a great Friday evening going into this awesome weekend, right? So, the topic is big things are indeed happening in Japan. And of course, what about us, like in the United States? What about us in maybe Europe or Australia or wherever you're from? So, we're going to get into all the material. It's going to add up and consider smashing that like. All right, we're going to welcome some of you guys that are part of the community. Glad to see you guys. Let's welcome the first comment of the day. Comes from Totally Awesome. That's a cool name. Says, hey to you too. Vadim Kagan, sorry. I always pronounce it wrong. I'm going to say Vadim. How about that? Kagan, good evening. And hopefully I got it right that time. Let's also welcome Michael Cornwell, aka Elon Muff. Good to see you, Michael. Operation Shutdown, big things are happening, I agree. Chipper, welcome. Says, hey. Boomer F and Sooner, the one and only. Hey, man, good to see you back, Boomer. Really mean that, man. Boom. Crypto Future 99 was actually asking about you a couple streams ago. Shout out to Rob Mass. All right, Sanrail Jack, good evening. Good evening. Yes. All right, let's welcome a few more of you guys. Here's an OG in the space as well. Selmo Foot in the house. Good to see you, Selmo. Obviously, you're excited about the new NFL season. Right on, man. So, supporting his Cleveland Browns. And obviously, some of you guys with college football as well, like Boomer with the Sooners. Hence why he's Boomer F and Sooner. All right. Let's welcome a few more of you guys, and we'll kick it into what we got. We got Sandrail Jack in the house. Yes, great day. Daniel Street. What up, brother Max? What up, brother Daniel Street? Good to see you, man. Thank you. Boom. We also got Wes in the house. And anybody else in the house? Ray says, hey, Max. Boomer Reference Sooner says, always watch, just miss the lies, but always watching. That's awesome. Very cool. All right. Well, lots going on. I guess we'll welcome Bloopity Bloop as well. Some of you guys are just kind of kicking in. Don't stop my optimism. Thanks, Visionaire 3. Good to see you from X. All right, so we'll use the Visionaire as a bookmark. We have quite a bit we're going to get into. It's going to double check my settings, check the other screen, and so on. So, what do we basically have? Well, we are going to start some things off, and we're going to give a special shout out to Stellar Rippler. All right, and you're going to see how all this kind of flows, to say the least. So I think it's worth all pointing out. And yeah, Stellar Rippler has some news for us that we're going to get into. And then we're going to get into all this all of it. Okay, literally a lot of it. Okay, so for one, first thing I want to share with you guys is literally from him. Let's go ahead and pull this up. And Stellar Rippler shared this, and it kind of pounds home a lot of what's going on right now. So for one, Stellar Rippler, who can be followed over at Stellar News 007, says Japan is the ticking time bomb for global finance. 260% debt to GDP. It's the highest in the world. 10 trillion JGB market propped up by endless Bank of Japan, because that's what that abbreviation is, printing. Does that not sound familiar? Okay. Yeah, it does. Population shrinking by 500,000 plus every year, dependent on imports for 94% of its energy. And now Ripple and SBI drop RLUSD into the mix. Sovereign grade stablecoin entering the world's most fragile economy. It isn't a coincidence, it's a strategy. And from the citation here, or the screenshot, you do see here Brad Garlinghouse, and you see this particular person who's Representative Teramasaki, pronouncing it right. This was in Tokyo, and Japan's leaders, of course, committed to advancing crypto, blockchain technology through clear frameworks and constructive policy that protects consumers and enables innovation. So you do definitely see those two gentlemen there. On top of that, as we get further into it, we're going to pull up some other key things that you're not aware of. And in the process of doing so, I think we're going to get into a lot of things that just people may not be aware of, may have possibly, I should say, dismissed for whatever reason. And again, I think this is all worth pointing out. All right, so for one, let's take you over back to the highlight. And the next one is basically this from Smoke. So Smoke pointed this out a little bit earlier today, because today's August 22nd. So if you're not aware of it, Grayscale did file for an S1 XRP ETF. Now, some people, I get it. You guys are getting frustrated. Oh, I've seen this 1,000 times. You keep mentioning this whole thing of these ETFs and nothing's happening, especially with XRP. Well, let's share some documents. Let's share some visuals with you, right? So for one, let's blow this up. And you do see here specifically this PDF. Now, this was the original one about this concept of an introduction to XRP. And of course, it was from Grayscale, and the citation comes from blockchaintest.com. That is not it, though. We're not just going to end it with only this. As we blow this up a little bit more, I want to share this with you, that you do see, like on the left side here, Grayscale research papers and investment thesis, and of course, like it says, an introduction to XRP. All right, well, watch this. Here's some of my own research. I found this particular PDF, and I do think it's very interesting because it's the timing of it all. So for one, it's only a 3-page PDF, but nonetheless, XRP, Grayscale XRP Trust, and as you see here, some of the recent dates as far as their stats and their data that they have gathered. And like it says here, from the 1-month report, 3-month report, year to date, so on and so forth. It says, why invest in XRP through a Grayscale XRP Trust? And it gets more into a lot of these key things about not just the trust, but of course, like we cited, obviously with the ETF and so on. So some things are obviously happening here with it all. And they even cite some things in regard to some things from specifically CoinDesk, and there's a lot of documentation here, okay, that you can look more into. The auditor of this, interesting, is KPMG, and you also see the custodian, Coinbase Custody Trust Company LLC, so on and so forth. Okay, so I think the timing here is worth pointing out, and to actually see some documents is, let's face it, is a big deal. The other thing I want to jump into is this from Christine Lagarde. Now, something I want to point out that I've shared on the public channel, obviously you guys here on the public channel, is I said there's going to be a call to action when it comes to the European Central Bank. We know Christine Lagarde's role. She used to be part of the IMF. Still technically is, but I'm talking about the head of the IMF, and now she has the head role, I guess you could say, with the European Central Bank. Many months ago, we covered it in the Quant Outline and some other ones on the recorded video for this channel. She pointed out in her interviews the call to action, specifically speaking, when it came to the European Central Bank, or the legislators, I should say, of the European Union. The ball is in their court now. They just simply need to pass the regulations, get it done, because her attitude was, as far as the ECB's point of perspective view, was we're ready there. We're all gung-ho about this. Here's an update. And more importantly, you will see with the visuals some key players that you may not have any idea would ever even bother to take a trip to, like, for example, Japan, or rub elbows with anybody from Japan. I'll highlight the key player here because he's been making a lot of news lately. But before we get into that, we're going to blow this up. Listen to this. Again, from Smoke, Christine Lagarde. We are actively discussing crypto regulations and how they can be used, I should say, to achieve price stability in the near term. And again, near term. Some people are getting so frustrated about all this stuff. Yeah, I get it, but if anything, did you reach all your goals on what you're trying to accumulate? So we're going to have a listen. Yes, this was posted 5 hours ago and under a minute. So I'll be right back and tie in some of the other things that are going on here as well. Appreciate you guys being here. Here we go.
I'm here in Niigata in Japan on the occasion of the G7 meeting. Now, I'm holding these beautiful peonies grown by the Japanese farmers around here. Now, this is the lovely time of the trip. Then after that, it's going to be 2 days of non-stop meetings, and we will be discussing anything like CBDC, regulation of cryptos, financial stability, of course the macroeconomic environment, and it's a good occasion for me to discuss with other colleagues, to compare notes, and to see how we can make the world a little bit more stable and reach this price stability that we very much want to arrive at in short order. I'm here.
Talk about that for a moment. So a lot of you guys have already seen the documentation a while back. She's not just also referring to just price stability in general. For me, personally speaking, if you had a role with the IMF, like we talked about in our collaboration, Smoke, Jesse, myself, 3-4 times now, it's like back to the World Bank document. Anybody wants to flood XRP or Stellar, there's something about that document, literally in that PDF, when the World Bank says XRP and XLM as global stablecoins. And again, not obviously pegged to $1, okay? And it also mentions it has to have, for example, like a high price, a high stable price, okay? This gets better. As we zoom in a little bit more about this, let's take you over to here, and it's as promised. So 5 hours ago, Christine Lagarde shared this. It says, great to be back at the Jackson Hole Conference and to see, oh, I know. A lot of people are big fans of this guy at all, right? Jerome Powell, Chair of the Federal Reserve. Andrew Bailey, Governor of the Bank of England. And Kazuo Ueda, Governor of the Bank of Japan. And again, I probably butchered up his name, okay? But clear as day, you see all of them, okay? And I do think this is important to share because sometimes some people have this attitude, and I don't know why, that when it comes to Jerome Powell, he's only focused strictly on what the United States is doing. He would never be in these, meetups and so on. Well, as the saying goes, boil it, mash it, stick it in the stew, because who do you see there with him? That's important. Sometimes pictures say a lot of things, right? Absolutely. So interesting to see these pictures. Interesting to see it obviously shared from Christine Lagarde. Okay. And is that all we have? No, it's not. We're going to get into a little bit more about this. But if anything, we're going to take a brief pause if I could just simply catch up on some comments, see what you guys have to say about this so far. But for me personally, I do think it's important to reference all of this. The other thing I want to jump into is some of this real quick with you guys. So we had a bookmark. I'm just trying to see if you guys have any specific questions or anything like that. His name was King. That's a great name. Checking in. Thank you. Thank you. DJ Miller in the house. Good to see you. Thank you for saying hit that like button. Francisco Dennis Leal says hello to everyone. Good to see you, Francisco. All right. Hopefully you got your decent wallet that you won in the mail. Hardcore says, appreciate you bringing us this live stream. Gee, hey, thanks, man. Appreciate that. Appreciate you being here. All right, let's read this from Totally Awesome. Not gonna lie, Max has one of the best channels on the whole internet. Max Edo, Verson, and Apex. Who does one? You know, who else do you need to watch? I get it. I get it. That's cool. Daniel Street, thank you for that. Let's just read a couple more so we get caught up. Hopefully she's referencing flipping that XRP switch. That's the way I'm looking at it too. Yeah, thanks guys. Appreciate that. All right, let's jump back into it. And if anything, pretty decent crowd so far. 229 combined on both X and YouTube. All right, so let's get right back into this coverage, why it matters to you. So for one, we're going to take you over to a little bit more from Smoke. Let's share this as well. This is good. Smoke points out, literally on August 22nd, right? He says, yes, ODL as an on-demand liquidity is available in Japan. Now, I want to talk about this for a brief bit before we get more into the outline. If it's me, somebody's asking me, what is Japan specifically doing? They are strategically positioning themselves to not miss out on Web3, okay? Because let's face it, constant citations, references showing that Japan definitely missed out on Web 2. They are not going to make that mistake moving forward. That's why, if anything, you have seen them wait so long to get it right. And can you blame them? I mean, we're talking about a country that had to go through the whole Mount Gox situation. They're more strict on when it comes to regulations. You think that we're strict. In reality, we're not even a drop in the bucket compared to Japan with how strict they are. So some things are kind of unwinding. And as we get further into the outlines, you'll see how things are unwinding, not only for, you know, Stronghold, not just XRP, you know, not just Hedera, but even like your Jasmys and so on. So again, a lot of focus is on Japan because it's like, how is it going to affect us abroad and so on. So let's pull up more information about this. Let's check this out again from Smoke. And please support Smoke. He has awesome research. All right, you can be followed at SMQKEDQG, and I've collaborated with him a few times now, right? And such an awesome researcher. He has premium content over on the Smoke Room if that's something that you want. But what does this all mean? Well, this means RippleNet customers in the region can already leverage XRP for cross-border payments. Now with SBI announcing plans to bring RLUSD to Japan in early 2026, the stage is set for the stablecoin to be integrated alongside XRP. Now, I will point this out for just a brief minute before we get more into specifically, like, you know, Jasmy. So we know, if you've been watching the coverage here, I've been doing, I've been doing live shows, also been doing some recorded content. But a lot of focus has been on the, JPYC stablecoin. But what should also have a focus is when Jasmy eventually gets their JPYD release going on. And some people are frustrated with that. Like, when is that going to happen? I think it's their timing of it all. And I'll reference some things that have highlighted Jasmy in the past about when they first launched. Right? Like, basically, I think that was October, give or take, 2021. So some key companies we're going to tie in here to make sense of it all. But again, don't ever forget, they applied for their application for patent for their stablecoin, which is called JPYD, last December 2024, and then it got approved. And I think the last update was April, right? So a few months ago here in 2025. So do we see or hear anything from them in that regard? Well, I don't have the answers for that, but I do think it's strategic, to say the least, because you're going to see some things also with some other companies, some big companies, Not necessarily for as far as stable coins go, but they made recent news. Okay, so we'll get to that here in a bit. Let's highlight a little bit more about this and why it matters to you. So for one, you see here, like it says, stage set for stablecoin to be integrated alongside XRP. So it says confirm. Let's jump back into this from financial IT. In the highlight from Smoke, it mentions specifically this, and it says, as I shrink it down just a tad, yeah, here we go. With ODL as an on-demand liquidity now available in Japan, RippleNet customers can leverage digital asset XRP. And again, we just kind of reiterated this, okay? I just want to show the visual with you. At the end of the day, if you think about it, unlocking capital, like it says, fuel the expansion of their payment business. This is a very, very big deal. And to see the citation literally come from financial IT, I think that's also a big deal as well. Taking you more into this, 23 hours ago, here's how we connect more dots. It's because officially from Ripple, right? A lot of you guys already seen this. I know that a lot of you guys already, you already got your news, which is cool, but there's some people that don't know this. Again, officially from Ripple, $300 billion stablecoin market set to grow into the trillions together with SBI VC, okay, venture capital trade. We're bringing RLUSD to Japan fully, or early, I should say, in 2026, offering users and institutions a trusted, regulated, and fully backed stablecoin built for enterprise use cases. Now, I get it. We always cite these 4-year cycles and so on. And on the Patreon collaboration, it was myself, Rob Mass over at Crypto Future 99, Rue Black. Rob brought up the whole thing that he felt as though that 4-year cycles are not going to end. And I think that's worth pointing out. Rue, on the other hand, mentioned that when it comes to 4-year cycles, he feels as though, kind of like me, there could be disruption. And at the end of the day, it's the difference of referencing those cycles before. And I think this is a fair argument. It's always good to recognize the 4-year cycles, don't get me wrong, but every single 4 years have been like a speculative market. We don't have quant coverage for today, but like, for example, with quant, you saw, I believe it was mid-September, like I think it was actually 9/11/2021, if I'm not mistaken. Quant hit like $460 per QNT. While that was significant, think about a lot of other altcoins that pumped based off of just that. Buy the rumor, sell the news, speculation, and so on. The difference moving forward, please understand this, is the ones that have disruptive technologies that are going to do something. So if you actually see a cosmic shift of liquidity, well, again, back to my old swimming pool reference. You really think that BTC and Ethereum are still going to do 80%? Could be close to that, but what if there's any bit of disruption, like let's say 10, 15%? Okay, what would that do for some of these other projects, your XRPs, your ISO related coins and tokens, heck, even your Jasmy. Jasmy is ISO 27001 for IoT. My key thing is recognizing that we can recognize the 4-year cycles, but for the first time ever, if we're having clarity moving forward, which seems as though we are, then we don't dismiss history with this cycle, but we should also realize that new history is unfolding right before us with utility. Because again, you're invested into utility because you already have maybe done the deep dives with myself or Rue or Crypto Future or whoever, Underdog, the Underdog Research Channel, all these guys, right? Apex Crypto, whoever you're following, right? Not just the guys I'm networked with, whoever you're following. But a lot of times in the comments, what I still consistently see is people like, oh, it's only going to go to this in market cap. It's only going to go to this in price. What are you really, truly referencing? Are you just still referencing a speculative cycle? Again, don't shoot the messenger here, but that's what I have been gathering. I want to get further into this. I want to point out some other things here that I think are worth pointing out, and that is this. So we talked about SBI. Let's talk more about SBI. Smoke again. He makes life easy for me and everybody else. So he says SBI Remit is using Ripple's XRP as a bridge currency to allow fast and cost-effective remittances. Of course, documented. So you blow this up, you'll see some things that you might not be aware of or never have seen. So for one, in the highlight, SBI Remit, Ripple SBI Remit is using, again, XRP as that bridge, like we just pointed out. And at the end of the day, what about this bottom part? Worth pointing out, right? Because on the left, what do you see about central bank digital currencies? It's not highlighted, but like it says here, whether we like CBDCs or not, like it says, help money move. And in the highlight, it shows Ripple, for global examples, in talks with over a dozen governments for CBDC development, many of them for cross-border payments. Now, again, I'm not talking about here in the United States. We know that this is basically banned. But if you think about it, not when it comes to stable coins, right? So that's interesting in itself. Take it into the other key area about this, and again, why it matters to you. Let's bring it over to here, because when we do so, well, what about specifically some of these other ones in regard to the visuals? So I want to give a shout out to Matsy XRP. Decided to give him a follow. He points out this, and what's crucial for your understanding is, do you notice on the top part where it's kind of like a sky blue color, you see BitPoint, and we're going to talk more about BitPoint and Jasmy a little bit later in the outline. But basically speaking, like it says here, as I shrink this down just a tad, yeah, you see here, providing digital finance by converging the digital space ecosystem into the existing financial ecosystem. At the top, right above SBI VC trade, you do see BitPoint. And again, we're going to really come back full circle with that. Left side says, make an effort to launch CFDs on crypto assets for SBI security clients by the end of August 2025. We're basically already in that. So I wanted to highlight this because to me, it seems as though there's clearly a push to get some of this stuff done. And as you also see on this mind map, if you want to call it this, right below that thing about the end of August 2025, securities business, SBI Group, liquidity market. Again, who better to serve the liquidity market than Ripple with on-demand liquidity? And look at this bottom part. Existing financial systems, asset management business, SBI Global Asset Management, the consideration of crypto asset ETFs and crypto asset embedded funds. So in reality, it's like back to what we just talked about in regard to the findings, the actual documents of Grayscale. Does this not add up on the timing? I mean, again, don't just listen to me. View it for yourself. Draw your own conclusion if this does not add up. Take you further into it. What else do we have? Well, it's getting more into the middle part. You see the associations, federations. You see, for example, even the NFT related services. In today's outline that came out basically this morning on my ongoing series about, for example, gold, right? You heard, for example, Clayton Morris of Redacted mention some key things about repegging gold, possibly. You heard some things that Trump referenced. You also saw some things called a history lesson of what happened since 1971. So when we look at NFTs, again, understand the ones that are connected with standards for utility-based NFTs. We are entering into a stage here sooner than people realize where it's going to be your house, it could be your car, it could be anything you could think of that has value will be represented in an NFT form. What coins and tokens have created standards that are basically tied to these actual, these actual utility-based NFTs. Again, Quant is not the coverage tonight, but Quant has, basically speaking, QRC 721, and it's more of an advanced standard for getting some of these things done. All right, the other thing I want to point out here, because it is highlighted, when you see the part about Ripple, in the visual it says SBI Ripple Asia, a joint venture, is establishing services using XRP and, of course, the XRP ledger. You see XDC on the right, but again, all these key ones when it comes to this bigger picture. All right, a little bit more about this. Let's still stay on the topic of obviously Japan. So for one, 18 hours ago is what we shared from Smoke, but it's not just that. Okay, kind of been there, done that when it comes to all this. But even dating back, again, I share this in another video, XRP-L, and again, the Interledger Protocol, and we know how Japan is going to, use this because Ripple provides a hybrid technology that combines the Interledger Protocol and XRP Ledger. And at the bottom, again, think about Bank A, Bank B, Bank C. XRP can be used as a bridge currency for overseas remittances. And again, how it all comes together, especially with the SBI group. All right, what we're going to do now is we're going to take a brief pause because we're going to have, or I should say, we're going to get into how Stellar plays a role in this as well when it comes to Japan. And I also recently covered this in a few deep dive videos. We're going to jump over to the comments so I could kind of somewhat stay ahead of it, which is cool. Recognize some of you guys. So let's see here. Let's recognize this from Tas. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Do you think the European Union will use Solana and Ethereum over XRP for CBDCs? No, not necessarily. But I also look at it from the perspective that they will use that, but it's not a one-stop shop. And I think we've seen a lot of examples. And I don't know why necessarily people do this. Like, for example, for us in retail, some people say to me, hey, Max, if you had to pick like one over the other, should I just move all my money into this project or something? And my thing is like, why not just be diversified? So if we're diversified in retail, you better believe institutions are also diversified and not only picking just one and one only. To a sense. Now there's other examples when we talk about the electronic special drawing rights. That's a whole other basket in itself. And again, in our discoveries, we found out, for example, especially with IMF, it seems as though that Ripple would be the one. So I'm going to say yes and no, but again, as far as just choosing Solana and Ethereum over XRP, I'm going to say that's invalid. But I do think that there will be other areas, specifically in the European Union, member states that would have, for example, more of a choice for one specifically compared to the other. And actually, that's a good question. So for one, what is a great example of that? A great example of that would be Algorand. You really think that Algorand is going to choose, for example, Algorand. You think Italy is going to go, for example, with maybe Solana or Ethereum or XRP over Algorand? No, I think honestly they would choose more of Algorand. So again, that's just an example. And again, Algorand is not just limited to just Italy. But it is a good question that you brought up. All right. Primo B, at least you don't promote a lot of stuff like other YouTube XRP influencers. I do promote a lot of stuff, though. I guess I'm shooting myself in the foot. I do promote, for example, BTCC. Again, if you don't know what the heck you're doing, don't use it. Some people don't like the idea of me talking about leverage trading and stuff like that. But, my attitude is, don't use your main nest egg portfolio. Why would you? I don't do that. So use a separate portfolio. That way you don't wreck yourself. But let's face it, people don't know what they're doing. Again, you can do copy trading. I just gave myself a little commercial, right? But yeah, I do promote BTCC. I do a little bit of, let's see, for example, ChainStats Pro. But again, these are projects built on the XRPL, part of the ecosystem. And then, of course, the Decent wallet. But if three things isn't a lot, then I guess I don't do a lot. So I am aware of some influencers out there where they do like maybe, I don't know, an hour show and it's 30, first 20 minutes is just advertisements and it has nothing to do with crypto. I can understand the frustration. All right, let's go further down. Play Big in Japan by Alphaville. Maybe we'll circle back around that. Let me see real quick. Well, it's possible, depending on it. Like if it's not too crazy. I'm not saying it is. So Big in Japan by Alphaville. Let me see. Big in Japan by Alphaville. If it's copyrighted, of course I can't play that because I don't want to get hit with that. But let me look that up. Play Big in Japan Alphaville. See what comes up with that. 1984. Yeah, it's a song. So I can play certain songs on this channel, like you saw earlier, but those are all copyright free, right? Because those are actually done with AI, believe it or not. But thank you for the recommendation. All right, going further down. Yes, the C word drove inflation. Then corporations drove up the prices. Then banks drove up the interest. Then municipalities drive up property taxes. Then gold, silver, precious metals spike, taxing you out. Hey, great perspective. Thanks for sharing that, Mel. We're going to go further down into a few more comments. Let's read this as well from Frito. What about Japan opting to use? I saw that. I did see that from Paul Barron, where he said that they would be in trouble for XRP. I had to look more into that personally. I did see that was recently shared on the Paul Barron network. So that's an interesting topic. I'm not saying that it is, or that's the case or whatever. I have to wrap my mind around that. I'm not going to give an educated response on that yet, but I did see something about that from Paul Barron. All right, moving further down, Frank says, heard earlier SBI isn't the biggest bank in Japan. Are the larger banks going to be using XRPL? Well, like for one, I know we referenced Bank of Japan, but there's come on, HSBC, there's Sumio Tomo Bank, there's we obviously said HSBC. There's some other key players that we talked about, but while Bank of Japan isn't necessarily or I should say SBI isn't necessarily the biggest, there is Bank of Japan, and there's some other ones as well. So Sumio Tomo is pretty big. Mizuho is pretty big as well. All right, let's welcome Mr. Lambo's Crypto Talk. Hey, man, thanks for being a long-time supporter for many years now. I really appreciate you. All right, let's go further down. Ex-Vidison files. And with 19 trillion on the sidelines, too, cycle's broken. All right, wonder what role Velo will play in Japan. That's a good question. All right, let's go further down, see what other comments you have. I won't necessarily read them all. I want to welcome HTTR all day, long-time supporter. Yeah, man, it's good to see you as well. All right. Let's go further down and welcome Stargazer. Good to see you, man. And Sweet Ant. Hey, good to see you. Hopefully that's Sweet Ant T, but welcome. And everybody's saying what's up to each other. All right, so what we're going to do now is use Stargazer as a bookmark. The comments. Let's kick it back to what we have. So I said earlier that we would get into a little bit about Stellar, just a little bit, okay? So for one, again, the topic of Japan. Listen to me on this. Shout out to King Channing Hero. He's always saying, follow me, right? So follow me on this one, right? Let's pull this up as well. So for one, it's just a simple Google search. Stellar Development Foundation, Japan. Stellar Development Foundation is actively engaged in Japan. Again, boom, it says it literally right there. Like it says here, key market for financial innovation with a focus on promoting Stellar's blockchain tech to support new financial services. This engagement includes partnerships with Japanese companies like GMO-Z.com. I recently covered this in my last deep dive for Stellar. It came out roughly about a week ago. So GMO-Z Trust, which launched the regulated JPY stablecoin, which is called Yen. All right, again on the Stellar network. They have also had collaborations with other financial institutions for tokenization and asset issuance. SDF also supports Japan-based developers and businesses building on Stellar. All right. This other thing about stablecoin issuance, we're going to get more into this, especially when it comes to Jasmy. But SDF partners, of course, with some of those companies. And again, Yen backed by Japanese yen on the Stellar network. Don't forget that. Stellar is definitely going to have a key role when it comes to Japan. And it's not just through USDC with Circle. All right. The other thing I want to point out real quick is with Sorbonne, we have shared on this channel numerous times since the beginning announcement of Sorbonne, the key smart contract platform for the Stellar ecosystem. And again, Protocol 23, some big news about that. I, of course, did a recent deep dive about this, but I want to point this out. So this mention about specifically Sorbonne. Smart contract platform, Sorbonne encouraging innovation in the financial technology. Again, but Japanese developers. Financial inclusion. They have initiatives. SDF aims to improve financial inclusion, create more efficient, secure financial services with Japan. So again, I just want to pound that home that Stellar definitely has a role in Japan. You may think it's just XRP, you may think it's just XDC. No, Stellar is totally there. Okay? This last part. Strategic partnerships. SDF collaborates with various financial institutions, including exchanges and payment providers, to integrate Stellar's technology through their services for the Japanese market. All right. Now here is GMO-Z.com. Again, I share this in a deep dive, but again, just in case people forget about this, it's literally called stablecoin.z.com. Building financial grade digital assets, the world's first regulated JPY paid stablecoin issuer. So again, to see the Stellar plug with this is crucial, okay? And again, followed by Wisdom Tree Prime. You have to keep in mind that Wisdom Tree obviously has a key role with Stellar. You also see here August 6th, when you think about it, two key things to point out. Southeast Asia, stablecoins moving from concept to practice through regulatory pilots and tax reforms. I stated this a while back in the deep dive. You are now starting to see like a stablecoin version of what the RLN and the RSN accomplished with key participants, but in this case, Japan. So again, this is just from August 6th, right? A couple weeks ago, but don't dismiss this. Other key highlight is going to be the bottom part. Crypto regulation updates real world pilots in Southeast Asia. Again, back to my analogy of like, this is the RLN, RSN version of stablecoin pilots for Southeast Asia. And you literally see it right here. They had a medium about it and so on. Take you further into this, just in case you're not aware of this, I want to point this out because you're going to see how this relates to some other things. GMO-Z.com, trust company, excited to announce that Yen and ZUSD are available on Bitstamp, providing secure and efficient way to trade on the Stellar blockchain. Again, pounding home this key plug with Stellar and Japan. Okay, now that was, of course, June 14th, 2024, but still valid even now. Here's why. Did we not see a lot of news about what's going on with Robinhood? And again, tokenizing on their platform. Because Bitstamp, like it says, by Robinhood. It's a branch of Robinhood. So do you not understand how that comes into fruition? And I wouldn't doubt for a single moment that we wouldn't hear more about Stellar's key role when it comes to Robinhood moving forward. You're not going to see it now. I think in the future that is inevitable, and I got to be careful with that term. So don't want to tick off the YouTube bigwigs. No, you know, they might have a hissy fit about that. Can't use the term yeah. Frustrations. All right. Taking to the next part. How about this from XDC Foundation? The SBC XDC Network APAC POC project with SBI R3 Japan successfully was completed. So people have forgotten about this, but don't ever dismiss it because, again, XDC plays a key role, obviously, with Japan. And what do you see here? Announced at that time that the POC project with SBI R3 Japan was successfully completed. So all these other tests that we're talking about, then there's XDC, okay? POC proved that value via digital asset can be transferred over different distributed ledger technologies. XDC network and R3 Quarter platform as a form of payment. Don't forget about that. Literally says as a form of payment. I don't know why people are saying that is not. That's ridiculous. To improve efficiency and facilitate inter-business settlement and trade transactions. And if anything, I'm not going to play this whole thing, but you do see here specifically how this is all orchestrated. So for one, I'm going to mute this for a moment, just kind of explain some brief things. So for instance, as we play this, it's kind of a nice educational video to say the least, because it does show you settlement. And that's the bottom line. Don't ever dismiss how big this is. So for one, SBI, XDC. But notice how it says SBI and XDC like as one. SBI R3 for Japan. XDC Network R3, again, it was a success. There's Impel, you know, the role that they play. Take you also a little bit more into this good video. I don't know why it didn't get shared enough. But for example, the use case, people have always asked about this. So again, kind of like another mind map, if you will, but these are good. We share so many mind maps on this channel over the years. But the importer and exporter have wallets. Each have wallets on the XDC, and notice how it says core to networks. Again, have you seen this? So for one, top part, smart contract bridge address, and again, the importers, the exporters. Okay. The Impel bridge connects the two blockchain networks, enables tokens to move back and forth. I'm not gonna play this whole thing, but it's solid. Absolutely good to share that. The other area I want to jump into is recognizing, obviously, a little bit more about this. And actually, I think I'm gonna jump to this middle part. Yeah, let me share this real quick. Some people haven't seen this as well. So for one, it just kind of shows a brief example of how this all comes together. And we talked about some of the wrapped tokens and so on, but how many times have you seen this on other, DEXs and so on? But this is literally XTC bridge settlement, and some people have asked for this. They wanted to see, like, for example, you saw right there the example of a car. Let's rewind that for a brief minute. So look at that for a second. Let's freeze the frame on that. You see the example of a car. How many times have we heard these examples of, like what I literally mentioned earlier, just about 20 minutes ago? I said you're going to see NFTs be represented as a form of a utility-based NFT. Does this not add up with the car? Does this not add up with the house? Of course it does. Take you more into this. Let's play a tad bit more about this. So on the bottom part says payment, buyer, seller, and then again, XTC payment. So just kind of like, maybe this is a bad analogy, but I think this is a good example. Like when we go use Trust Wallet, what's a DEX that's built into the Trust Wallet? PancakeSwap, right? All right, that's PancakeSwap, right? But you need BNB to use for that pairing. All right, what about institutions? What about moving forward, literally electronic trade, these actual documents, but electronic documents? So that's institutional swaps, ladies and gentlemen. I will say this again. Institutional swaps, and on top of that, you just need to look at XTC further. If you think about all the ISO 222 related coins and tokens, I would say it's safe to say that XTC, currently speaking, because it's still under 10 cents, is the most undervalued. But in reality, what about Quant? Quant's still pretty undervalued, because even at $10,000 per Quant, which some people think I'm crazy for saying that, or higher, that is, at these prices, because Quant's roughly around $100, that's a 100x. Well, XTC, I mean, again, under 10 cents, where do you realistically see it going long term? And we know that, for example, with the UK Parliament, not necessarily just with the Parliament, but remember how they only highlighted XDC? Remember how they only highlighted Quant's Overledger software as a service platform? And in one of the deep dives I did, they shared on the search results, only 1 of 1 on the search. So that's big. It kind of seems as though, like, the ones are the chosen ones, per se. So all these things are worth pointing out. And of course, King Charles III signing literally into law. So going from electronic trades documents bill to an act. As we know, acts are laws. So again, moving forward, XDC Bridge is a settlement for all that. Again, you saw some of the examples. Maybe you never seen some of these examples. Always worth pointing out. The other area you want to jump into is now over to Hedera. So we're going to take a pause on that. We're going to jump back into the comments, so I don't have to spend 2 hours reading through comments. Nothing against your comments, but it just kind of helps with the flow. Let's read this from Dennis Lil. Francisco Dennis Lil in the house. He says, Bank for International Settlements is promoting the Finternet. And if you're new to the channel, Finternet literally means financial internet. Okay, how much of banking resistance all affront to accumulate? That might be the question for the day, my friend. Great perspective. Bobby Freedom USA, first time I made it live with you. Hey, thanks, man. Solid work, my brother. Not sure how long you'll be awake. Yeah, you're probably on the eastern side. Maybe EST, Eastern time zone, because over there it's 10:50 at night. So I can respect over here in Phoenix it's 7:50. So it's not too late here. And I'll tell you what, one of my all-time favorite DJs, DJ Premier, he has a concert in New York. You know how expensive concerts are? So there's a club he's performing at, and it's like only $11. And I wanted to go, and I was so just on the fence just to go with my shirt on the back to New York and head to that. It's tomorrow at 10 p.m. But anyway, I get it. It's late over there. All right, let's go here to totally awesome, man. I'm gonna read this in a totally awesome, bodacious way of saying things, bro. So, well, after these 1,700 NDAs come out, we should see at least more Ripple partners. Laugh out loud. Yeah, I would say so. Super Noof, if I'm pronouncing that right. Hi, Max, great content. Frequent viewer. Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate that. Can you illustrate the price action for XRP in the early days and how SHX can take a similar one and what it'll look like if so? Oh, boy. You're really going to throw that at me right now. Well, I'm going to use this as a cop-out because in reality, this has actually already been explained. So if anything, instead of me taking a long, deep dive into that right now as the show's going on, there's a guy who will save me from having to do that. And I will introduce it, and he'll love that I'm doing this for him because he's awesome. So who's this guy that we're talking about, and how recently did he talk about it? Well, not that long ago. I did a collaboration with him, but he also got more into the weeds about this. So for one, I'm going to share his channel with you, and some of you guys already know who I'm going with on this. It's Rue Black. Yes. Shout out to her brother in space, Rue Black. Why point this out? So for one, back to this topic. So you need to follow Rue because he literally breaks down your whole entire question. All right. So for one, let's get into it. He's recently covered a lot about Stronghold and so on, but it will answer your question. Okay. I don't want you to think that it's just me sharing this. So for one, you will see here, it's this video. I would go to this video. It's not that long. I mean, it's also on my channel, but I'd rather you go to his channel because he deserves it. Right. SHX is a key piece to XRP. I get it. You know, shout out to Ference F. He's pointing out, well, you know, Stellar as well. Well, true. But this will give you some of the answers. But your main answers, actually, if you're willing to watch the whole deep dive, if you're the type of person you're like, oh, I'm just going to turn off after 10 minutes, you're not going to get all those answers. All your answers are right in here. Because Stronghold SHX really hit, like, for example, it says $1 soon. Because Rue and I, especially him, he references like how it was done in the early days with Ripple and how it matches up obviously to you know, like what what SHX is currently doing. Like, is there common synergies? So I would say between these two videos, SHX key piece to XRP, and this one says boom SHX 2.1, you will see that. So again, I just thought, why reiterate what we already did, done a deep dive about? You just go to his channel. And again, everybody, his channel is at Black Rue. I typed in Rue Black, but it's at Black Rue. Okay, we'll just leave that up there for a brief moment as we go through more comments. All right, so let's read this from G Money, but it's a great question, Super Noof. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. G Money, new money, says Jasmy, they're getting ready to flip the switch. I would agree with that. Thank you for that, G Money. Francisco Dennis Little says World Economic Forum Davos, XLM and BSV were the only networks on the conference program. Interesting that there is no info or videos from BSV. Yeah, and that's it's a frustration. You know, I still say they have the most impressive tech stack out there. They really do. They blow everything out of the water. You got the best tokenomics of everything that they have. They have everything within their layer one. They don't have to go outside of that. If you think about it, like Terrano is part of BSV. But my main thing is they just don't have the connections of like your Ripples, your Stellars, and so on yet. But you know, if anything, I mean, man, the prices of BSV right now, I mean, I get it. For some people are like, oh, I'm not gonna touch that with a 10-foot pole. Hey, it is what it is. But You know, glad you bring that up. All right, BSV is needed for scaling. True. Everyone, look up the legal definition of escrow after Max is live. Then ask who is the third party are holding it for. Okay. Let's go further down. Hero Tamani, 60% of XRP are on Ripple escrow. And let's read this. Elon Musk, Michael Cornwell says XRP under 3. This may be the last time ever. Can't burn it. I don't know. All right. This morning, XRP's pump had a larger than 600x market cap multiplier in 30 minutes or so. Nice. Very nice. Nice share. Let's read this. Chipper XDC is my favorite token. Right on, man. Very cool. Michael Cornwell, Elon Musk. Yeah, make all about the velocity. I seen higher outflows rise the cap before. I think you got maybe a gummy going on or something. That's okay. We love you, bro. All right. Heath Overledger, one of the best names in all of crypto. Better late than never to class salute Big Max Dog and gang. Gang, gang. Yes, thank you, Heath Overledger. Glad to have you, sir. Stump Rider in the house. Good to see you, man. Welcome back, Stump. Let's read this from Mel. It says Indax Exchange is the only exchange that has XCC listed for Canucks in here. Okay. So you're out in BC. I know Tokenizer's out in Vancouver. I have a cousin that lives in Vancouver. Another one lives in Victoria Island. They listed it right before it pumped in July too. Oh. Totally awesome. XRP equals Internet of Value. QNT equals Internet of Trust. XDC/R3 Core to Bridge is the shared ledger where all tokenized assets will reside. Cha. Peace, dude. Surf new. Cha. All right. Having some fun. I gotta have some fun on a live show, right? Tammy Weber, welcome. Or might be Weber. I think it's Weber, but let me know. Tammy, thanks for being here. Thank you for everything you do. Always look forward to watching the channel. Hey, that's awesome, Tammy. Appreciate you. Visioneer, I think Jasmy can get to 8 cents, I should say, before Ripple can get to 15. I think it's safe to say the percent is the same, but who knows? No, I would go with you on that. To me, that would make sense. I actually have Jasmy potentially doing 10 cents or more by the end of the year, but that's me. And why would I say that? I know we're not to the Jasmy coverage yet. Hold on a second. Let me nothing gets real. Let's pull that off for a second. Why in the world would I say that? Well, think about this. Jasmy went to 6 cents, almost 6 cents, not quite 6 cents, but almost at 6 cents. All-time high for market cap. Let's talk about this for a second. So, for one, that was early January, or I don't know if early January, but roughly January, right? Again, second or third time we talk about like semiconductors, and people are like, why is Jasmy taking off? And again, when we look more into it, again, semiconductor industry. I live here in Phoenix, Arizona. Are you guys aware that there's a thing called, for example, Project Stargate 2025, done some deep dives about this, but the whole thing was that Massa over at SoftBank said on day 2 or 3 when Trump was officially in office, it was him, it was, Sam Altman from, some of these big ones, right? Your Oracles of the world. We had OpenAI, all these big players were in that meeting, and they said, we are going to invest $500 billion into American infrastructure. All right, so here's where I'm going with this. TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturer. All right, probably butchering that up, but anyway. TSMC is right here in Phoenix. They opened up a plant here in Phoenix. That's $100 billion of that $500 billion that was supposed to be allocated right here in Phoenix, Arizona. So my point is, moving forward, it's always interesting to see how things get built out. We also see what things that's going to happen, obviously, with clearly Japan and stable coins, but like local stable coins, right? Japan wants, a lot of this to benefit, of course, their local government, and rightfully so. I mean, what if it was us? But my thing is, if Jasmy was able to go to almost 6 cents without all this news that's coming out here soon for Japan, what about the end of this year and so on? So again, maybe that's why we're all here. That's why we're all talking about it. So I don't think you're too far off with your statement. I don't think you're too far off at all. And maybe we'll circle back about it later. Okay. Corey Bibe, aka Jasmy not a scam. Let's go. Greetings, Max and future crypto millionaires. Yes, it's always an honor to have Corey Bibe here. I really mean that. Good to see you, man. All right. Someone saying, what's up to Beeps? Ricardo says, hints at rate cut XRP ETF filing case 1000% closes. Wow, that would be something, right? Mel Sinclair's laughing. Super Newfoundland. All right. Which is why there's Noof in my name. All right. Respect. Gotta respect. Like, where there's Noof in all caps. Noof in my name. You respect the Newfoundland, right? Newfoundland. It's kind of like a tomato. How do you guys pronounce it out there? Is it Newfoundland or you say Newfoundland? All right. Thanks, Corey. Appreciate that, brother. Hello, Max. Hope all is well. I wish you the best. Thank you, man. That means a lot. I always appreciate. Who doesn't appreciate super chats and so on? But thank you. I really appreciate that, brother. I'm glad you always supporting our brother in space, Rob Mass, Crypto Future. That's awesome. All right. Let's also thank CF for his $2 super chat. Would you sell BTC or XRP for QNT? Oh, that's an easy one. That's a freaking easy one. BTC. Absolutely. In fact, I've already done that. I just told on myself I've done that. I've done that before. Yes, but not XRP. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I remember my lowest bag of XRP was 32 cents. This guy right here, shout out to you, Selmo. I mean, I don't know if you want to share that because I know you've been in a few, bull markets already, right? Longer than I have. My first bull market was 2021, but I know that you're at least one cycle, ahead of me, Selmo. So, Selmo, would you sell BTC for XRP or QNT? Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't speak for you, but anyway, I don't know if I speak for you on QNT, but I mean, to get more XRP, I mean, anyway. I'm not giving you financial advice, but I mean, I am telling myself I have done that before. All right. Yeah. I didn't read it the right way the first time. So yes, I've actually done it for QNT. I don't know if I sold it for necessarily XRP. I will also say this, you guys might not like hearing this. So 2021, see, the first time I ever came into BTC was 2016. I didn't have a full BTC, but I had a decent amount. And then I held it from 2016 to 2021, and I swapped it for some SHIB. I know you guys are going to laugh, right? But that actually paid off really well. Because for one, it was a little under 8,000. So it was my 8,000, I'm just going to round off, $8,000 investment, which was about 1 billion Shiba Inu. I did 11x on that. So I rolled that up to like 88,000. And if it wasn't for that, I know we always diss the memes and stuff. If it wasn't for that, I don't think you guys would even know. We wouldn't even be here right now. You guys would be elsewhere on other shows and whatnot. But that's when I got bit by the crypto bug. I was like, man, I gotta research the living crap out of this stuff. Anyway, we're gonna welcome William Keohane. He says, hi all. Hey, William, welcome. That was my dad's middle name. All right. All right. William was not, so there's always going to be one guy who'd be like, your dad's middle name was Keohane? No, it was not that. I may look like I'm Filipino Ice Cube, but as some of you guys point out, but no, my dad's middle name was William. Anyway, God rest his soul. Dennis Lil, Kima Network. I'm getting so many requests about Kima Network. I just got to, look, man, I'm just going to write this down. Like, how many times do I get requested for Kima Network? Maybe I'll do a collaboration with, obviously, Channing about that, because he's covered Kima. So, Kima, I'm saying that Got like 3 things on my list. All right. Let's read your comment, Francisco. Human network going to surprise people. Kima, Quant, and Koti, only networks with tokens on the list of European Pioneer Group. Look at you, man. Straight alpha, man. Go follow Dennis Lil over on TikTok. If you want to drop your TikTok, hopefully you can, because I think aren't you a moderator? If you're not, somebody give him a moderator. That way he can drop his link. All right, get some more followers. All right, Tate Williams, welcome. Let's read this from Bobby Freedom, USA. With metal being a layer 0 versus layer 1, would there be an integration within the XRP/XRP ecosystem? I know there are different avenues, but RWAs will be big. Who eats the bigger piece of the pot? Mass, that is a great question. You guys have some really good questions. I would say anything is possible. And how do we know anything is possible? So if for EVMs, Axelar is the chosen one for interoperability with, EVM sidechains and so on, then why wouldn't Ripple be open to what you're saying right here? So maybe that's the question of the day. Some of you guys also had some good questions earlier. But that might be the question of the day. That's a critical question right there. Absolutely. And I'm sure they're more than aware of, metal and XPR and all that stuff. So yep, biggest chip plant in Arizona. When the weather gets better, I guess it was supposed to be somewhat of a surprise, but it's okay. I don't think he minds. Brew and I want to make a really cool video where we go down there in person. Seriously, we go down there in person, and then, maybe possibly interview some people from TSMC and basically like tie in, like some things about Jasmy. It'd be almost like you're watching not necessarily a documentary, I guess you could say. I don't know, but I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be really, really cool to go do that in person, because we're not that far from it. Call it a field trip, but I'm not going to go to TSMC when it's 118 degrees out. Forget that. I'm hoping that this is my last summer in Phoenix. Seriously, where I just take off for the whole summer somewhere else. I mean, I'll still do coverage, but you know what I mean? Like, just anywhere but Phoenix. Anywhere but Miami, too, because Miami is basically Phoenix weather with 100% humidity. Nothing against you guys in Miami or Florida, right? All right, let's read this from Super Noof. Because I am Canadian, I can't buy metal or any of his tokens like loan. Well, there is other ways around it, but I can't mention what those ways are because YouTube will have a hissy fit. All right, let's go further down. Tate Williams, doesn't Jasmy have ties to the $400 million data center being built with Oracle? I would definitely say so. That's a great way of looking at it. We covered that in the past. All right, let's go further down, see what else you guys have. You guys have some good comments. I'm glad you're interacting with your fellow brethren in the community. Let's welcome the one and only, the man, the myth, the legend, Greg Ballou. Good to see you, Greg. Great having conversations with you, man. I salute you, Greg. Always glad to see you in the comments, brother. Yes. Greg was a guy that, I got to see when I went to visit Will Fix in Tennessee over the Thanksgiving week. So we honor Greg Ballou. So if you guys don't know Greg Ballou, please give him a warm welcome. He's a fantastic human being. All right, Bobby Freedom says, if I could deal with that heat, I moved to Arizona, but I love my cold temps and snow in the winter in New England. Yeah, my thing is, like, even, let's say, for example, I don't go back to my hometown of Portland, Oregon, right, for the summer. Even just going up north for 2 hours north to Flagstaff would, for the summer, that would beat the living heck out of just being here. But I get it. I totally get it. Joe M, hello from Denver. All right, let's see. You guys got a lot of comments, so some of them I might skip over a little bit because I just want to get kind of caught up. I want to give a shout out to the Crypto Crossroads Show. Let's go ahead and highlight his YouTube. You know how we do this, guys. We support our fellow brothers in this space. I didn't have to do this, but why not? You know, why not? You know what also drives me absolutely crazy, okay, is people in the space that they will rip everybody else's research, and then like when you add it, you're like, huh, that font looks familiar, that logo looks familiar, and it's just like they don't spend 5 seconds just giving somebody a shout out. Anyway, just one of my own little frustrations. But anyway, Crypto Crossroads Show. Let's pull up his channel, and you're going to see it right here. Yes, yes, indeed. Call to action, and don't just subscribe to people for the sake of subscribing. Understand he actually provides value. All right, so here's his channel. It's called the Crypto Crossroads Show, and as you see here, help him grow his platform. He does post a lot on X as well, but like it says, crypto updates, deep dives with verifiable research. I like that. You know, this show is all about verifiable research as well. So check him out, and he covers some things that we don't normally cover. But nonetheless, look at this. Lightlink. He's very passionate about Lightlink. Maybe learn about Lightlink. He covers Velo. Some of you guys in the comments, you're like, Max, I want to cover Velo. But again, I cover a lot of stuff. There's only so much time in the day. Like currently, guys, if you combine the Patreon and also the public channel, I already cover a good 20 projects. So again, my time is being very stretched, right? So if you want more of that Velo, maybe you give him a shot. Go see what alpha he has to share on his channel. He covers some things that we also cover, like Hedera, right? And also he covers Swiftcoin, right? Me and Rue cover Swiftcoin. Rob covers Swiftcoin. Crypto.com was my third top performer of 2021. I didn't get rich off of it, but I turned $1,700 into 10,000. I'm not complaining. And of course, he covers XDC. We're talking about XDC. So give him a follow. He just posted some of this about 4 hours ago, and help this guy's channel grow. Listen, just, you know, I understand we don't have time to listen to everybody, but, you know, what's it going to hurt if you go give him a follow and listen to some of what he has to say? You might be very interested, right? See, I'm subscribed, and you can be followed over on X at Crypto Crossroads. So we're going to leave this up for a bit. And if anything, go further down. Yeah, only with Terranode. You're talking about BSV. Yeah, please hit the like button. Thank you so much, Max and Rue Crew. Hasn't Terranode scaled to 9 million TPS and test? Yes, that's true. All right, Bobby Freedom USA. I've learned from the best, sir. Was a newbie just last September. Okay, so 2024. Between you, Rue, Channy, Jesse, and a few others, I dig deep now, bro. That's awesome. That is what I like to hear. You are following some straight up great channels right there. Right on, man. Right on. That's so cool. All right. If I'm correct, there are 2 plants here. Okay, so that's news to me, if that's the case, Daniel. That is news to me. And, you know, here's why it's news to me. Because sometimes when you reference things, you only have so much time for one thing. Because if it's 2 things, well, I've got bronchitis. Ain't nobody got time for that. See? Ain't nobody got time for that. All right. Beeb says, Max, are people sleeping on PayPal choosing Stellar Fruit? Absolutely are sleeping on that. I would say 110% they're sleeping on that. Tate Williams, do you plan to short sell after the alt season is over, Max? No. If it's ISO related, I'm going to lean towards no. But some of my ones that I don't normally cover with you guys, possibly. Yeah, possibly. Like there's some coins and tokens I don't marry. Like I'm really big on Filecoin, right? I have a strong position of Filecoin. I'm not going to marry Filecoin. You know, because the way I look at it is, you know, you can't marry all this stuff. You know, like I'll be honest, I probably marry XRP, my QNT, and maybe my XLMs and stuff like that. Again, that's just me, and I gotta be careful with that because sometimes when people hear me say that, they feel like they have to do it too. Again, you got to make your own decision. For a lot of us, and again, I've gotten some feedback about this. I've literally said this in a recent video, or actually collaboration on Patreon. You have to keep in mind, like, I never knew that in my community that are in their 80s. For real, there is. for a guy who's like, this whole talk about waiting to 2030 or, next cycle or so on, they don't want to hear it. So, they have a whole different outlook. Some people might not have offspring or, family or whatever the case be. It creates a whole different scenario. So again, I realize I don't like consider myself an influencer, but I understand that is a title that I'm gonna have, whether I like it or not. I consider myself more of a researcher, but I get it. Technically speaking, influence. So I don't want to influence anybody to do anything that I'm personally doing for my own personal reasons. Again, my own personal reasons on why I'm holding a lot of this stuff does not match up with 99% of you guys out there. And what I mean by that is, like, for example, for me, when I say generational wealth, like, I'm hanging on to a lot of this because I realistically, in my book, and I got to be careful with that because YouTube will have a hissy fit, that, like, I need to hold on to it for probably longer than the average person, because I do see in my heart and my research where it's going. But it's also because I need a lot of capital to accomplish a couple of my dreams. Obviously, make, like AAA style video games. It's going to take a big budget to do that. But again, not everybody, is looking at it from the perspective. Like, say somebody that has, somebody that's like an XRP maxi that has, like, I don't know, man, like 100,000 or more XRP. Maybe $8 to $10 is like, yep, you're gonna sell XRP at those prices. For me, I wouldn't, but that's just me personally. So is my plan to short sell after the alt season's over? Maybe on certain ones, but you wouldn't know if I did, because my thing is, it's a responsibility. Yes, we should all be transparent, but it's also a responsibility of recognizing that there's people that will just jump into these spaces and they'll do the same thing, and you don't know their long-term goals of what they want to do. And so again, we all have to be careful about that. I say we as in, content creators and so on. All right, Rob Franklin. Hello to you too. Velo gonna mail faces. Apparently, yeah. I mean, sometimes I get a lot of people, I should say sometimes, I do get a lot of people that request me to cover that, but I just look at it like, there's so many great researchers out there that already cover that. But I do wish for all you guys the success in Velo. And I realize that, maybe that's disappointing that, people want me to cover that, but for me, it's just, I already cover so many things. I was adding it up. I mean, on the public channel, I cover roughly 13, 14 projects consistently. And then if you add Patreon to it, now that, we're into like 20 plus projects and so on, it's just, it becomes very, very challenging. All right, Crypto Crossroads Show. Max, you're the man. I greatly appreciate this. Much love. Yeah, no problem, man. Again, give him a follow, and let's see where he's at. Let's see if anybody actually listened to what I said. So 578. Let's refresh this real quick. Did this tick up at all? Come on, let's see if it did. All right, 2 people. All right, we got 524 people watching on the combined on X and YouTube. We're only getting 2 people that are subscribing. Come on, you guys. We can do better than that. We can do way better than that. But let's go further down. Mel Sinclair says, I wonder how much competition XDC is for Ondo. Ondo is BlackRock. Possibly XDC catches up to Ondo. I don't really think they're sweating the whole thing with with Ondo personally, but I mean, I get it. It's competition. My thing is, if you had to compare and contrast what, one as an XDC, you literally have written into law, they're like the chosen one, if you will, when it comes to, trade. And also from the perspective of the United Kingdom. And if people don't believe this, if you're new to the channel, I'll give you, I hate to use this term, but I used to, as a former school teacher, sometimes you have to give the students some homework, right? So here's some homework. If you want, it's not very long, all right? I don't want to like give you like something that's, basically too long. And whoa, hello. All right, moving along now. My God, this aged great. Well, School Spirit, huh? Might have to check old 80s movies, right? All right, so let's see here. Yes, let's go to my channel for a second. All right. So we got, yes, let's do the one for XDC. I'll show you which one it is because I'll recognize the thumbnail pretty much like immediately. Let's see here. Come on, where you at? Where you at? It's got to be here somewhere. Maybe it's not. Maybe YouTube had a hissy fit, right? No, I don't think so. UK. Let's just type in UK. There it is. So the one you want to look for, okay, my bad. I was wrong. It's not a quick video. It's 33 minutes, but that's the one that says UK Parliament chooses XDC, and it shows a little bit of quant there. It says XDC and QT massive update. UK Parliament chooses XDC. You will see the receipts. You will see the documents. That came out 11 months ago. Like it says, yes, you read that right. UK Parliament chooses XDC. In this outline, you'll see some massive updates for XDC, as well as an answer of a problem that XDC has when it comes to oracles. Okay, that was probably one of my most important deep dives ever when it comes to specifically like XDC, with a little bit of QNT in there. So just thought I would share that. All right, and again, there it is. All right, let's read this. Yep. Yeah, and we had a special guest from Aeonics 2 weeks ago, which was Evan, aka Hungarian Hordtail from Aeonics. Daniel Street, Max, what's your favorite coin? My favorite coin? Oh man, well, that's a tough question. As far as a community, I'm gonna go with Jasmy. I love the Jasmy community, so I would say that's probably my favorite because you know, they're very open, they're very welcoming. But as far as what's my favorite, as far as where I see long-term value, just blowing everything else out of the water, it's got to be a tie between QNT as a token, because that's a token, not a coin, and XRP. So I guess you could say, as far as coin, not a token, I'm gonna go with XRP. All right, GS, hey, welcome, man. Let me know, did you get your freebies? Did you get your decent wallet that you won? Did you get your credits from Aeonics? Let me know. I'm a crypto polygamist and some. Okay. How much leverage do you incorporate in my portfolio? It's a separate portfolio. I don't touch any of my nest egg when it comes for leverage. So I'm just giving you a heads up about that. So I tell people as a disclaimer not to do that, but they do it anyhow. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I never do any more than, you know, I could afford to lose. Like, I'm not gonna, you know, mortgage my house or something like that to do leverage. That'd be crazy, right? Let's go, maybe just read a few more comments. All right, because I think we're pretty close to it, and then we'll get back into this because we need to, because it's getting a little bit later. They're flipping the switch soon. Quant Super MDApps, right? Multi-dApps for all. Omni 25. My dad was with me on SHIB Day, or SHIB early, excuse me, not SHIB Day. He was 90 and passed last year. Happy to have the journey with him. He enjoyed it a lot. Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah, my dad was almost 90 as well. Well, he just turned 89 and then he passed away December 14, 2023. So he would have been 91 September 6th of next month. So, but sorry for your loss, man. I know it's tough. I think about my parents all the time, literally every day. It's kind of crazy. You want to think that, but I don't think there's. It's not like I just sit there all day long and think about my parents, but stuff pop up. You know, I'm sure some of you guys can relate to that. Is Cubic possibly going to be ISO compliant? You never know. I mean, it's interesting that Gilbert Verdian, you know, highlighted Cubic, right? All right, Lawrence Van Staten from Namibia. Thanks for your honesty. Keep it up. Hey, thanks for actually just taking the time to type that, Lawrence. Appreciate that. Tiger, do you think if Jasmy cut rate to follow the U.S., any chance Jasmy can run higher? Um, yeah, and I think that's interesting that you're bringing that up because remember at the if you were here, I don't expect everybody to be here the whole time, but at the very beginning, we did cite some material from specifically what's going on in Japan, and we also cited that you do see Jerome Powell meeting with a key person from Japan, and there's a problem also just like with the United States with the endless money printing. Apparently, Japan was also doing it as well. So I do think uh, that could be, an instance for Jasmy. Mark Jameson, best crypto channel by far here. Thanks, man. That's quite the compliment. I mean, this is not a high-end production like Paul Barron or Coin Bureau, but I do appreciate that. What's the difference between alt season and a bull run season? That's a good question. Um, there's two answers in regard to that. So in alt season, for example, like there's also accumulation phases on that, and there's a lot of times where people point out that like let's say for example you accumulate a lot of stuff in a bear market, and instead of seeing just BTC dominance, right, where that goes up to 120 125,000, and Ethereum is like 5 or 6K or whatever, even though it hasn't gone to 6K, but you get my point. That you see a lot of alts, and what they mean by that is like XRP is still considered an alt. So XRP, your XLMs, your XDCs, your IOTAs, your Jasmys, you name it, those are all altcoins, where a lot of those are just ripping. And you can even include some of the memes part of that mix as well. But that's normally what they mean, where you see the dominance of those, where there's huge gains. So what's the difference between alt season and bull run season? Well, in reality, you can have an alt season that ends up being in the bull run season. So let's say, for example, you already have one wave where those are way up, and then in a bull run season, let's say, for example, like some people feel as though that the height of the bull run is going to be the end of this year, because some people feel as though that if it follows the 4-year cycle, then the time is ticking, November and so on, and then January will be the next cycle. Again, don't shoot the messenger, I'm just citing the cycles. Some people feel as though that the height of it would be November. So do we see the peak of that basically November? So would we see alts run, for example, I don't know, September, October, and it peaks at November, and the peak of that bull run is that time of November? So then you have a combination of the two. I don't know if that answers quite everything you're looking at, but again, we cite some things. So last bull market 2021, you have, for example, like your Shiba Inus, like your Crows, your QNTs, right? Like, September, traditionally speaking, on the 4-year cycles, is a bad month for BTC. But alts, like the ones I just mentioned, had like all-time highs for September. So that is a fair example. Max, you are a champ researcher. I listen to you like you are my What? Max, you are a champ researcher. I listen to you like you are my grandchild. I don't know if I should. I thank you for the champ researcher, but how do I know that you even listen to your grandchild? Maybe you just space out your grandchild because your grandchild is talking about Fortnite 24/7. So we'll circle back to that comment. All right, BB, QNT for me, long-term investment. Well, thank you for that, BB. There's another BB, but she kind of disappeared. I sure hope she's okay, to say the least. All right, Vadim Kagan. Tiger Japan is going to increase the rate. Huh. You already following Crypto Crossroads? Well, look at you, Francisco Dennis Lil. That's awesome. Yeah, much love. All right, we're gonna read just a few more comments. We gotta kick it into the to the outline, because if we don't, it's gonna be like a 5-hour show. Yeah, hey Anthony, good to see you, man. You got the wallet? No reply from Evan yet. Yeah, he did say that he's a little bit late on that, so I'll let him know. But he's pretty stand up. So, all right, Gilbert Verdon also highlighted Red Belly Network. I noticed you also cover this, Project Max. Yeah, here's the issue, Red Belly Network. I know I covered it in the past. You got some really bad tokenomics. All right, look into it yourself. Got some really, really. You guys know me. I don't really do any FUD, and there could still be potential there. And don't get me wrong. I mean, especially with Gilbert Verdon highlighting, but some members, some deep divers. I won't tell on who. Just know. I'll just say this: there's a key person I'm always networked with behind the scenes. I mean, that really tells who it is. Who said, "Geez, man, look at how bad the tokenomics are on Red Belly," and I was like, "Oh my goodness." So maybe they fixed that, But you guys know me; I don't really try to FUD too much because it's not a popular thing to do. Not just for the sake of popularity, but nobody wants to hear, for the most part, some guy that constantly wants FUD. You want FUD all the time? Go to, God bless him. What's his name? Who's that guy that says everything's going to go to zero? I can't even think of his name. He's the guy that's really big on ICP, but everything's going to zero. Like everything but ICP is going to zero. And then when you look at why he's doing that, is because it gives him the most views. Forgot his name. To be honest, I can't bring up his name. Maybe that's good. I just blocked him out of my brain, right? But again, that doesn't mean like I can't stand the guy. Just we gotta pray for some of these people, right? All right, Tate Williams. Japan was forced to be part of MKEU printing scheme. All right, let's welcome Vibra Finance and let's kick it into what we have. Good to see you, Adam. Really mean that. And maybe it's your better half, right? Could be Lindsay, could be both of you. But shout out to both you guys over at Vibra Finance. All right. So we're finally going to jump into this next part because we need to do this, right? We really need to get into this next part. We talked obviously last about XDC. Let's get into Hedera Hashgraph. So what are they doing? What is Hedera doing in regard to specifically Japan? That's a great question as well, right? So let's add this to the stage. Let's talk about this. This is the Hedera hbar news you're looking for. Lionel Richie. Haven't said that in a while, huh? Michael Cornwell. Shout out to the Cornwell clan over in Oklahoma, doing it big all day, every day. Shout out to April Cornwell. Shout out to Josh Cornwell, the Elon Musk Jr. over there, right? Smart gentleman. Shout out to all the Cornwells. You guys rock, right? But anyway, what do we got? So for one, Hedera Hashgraph open access is coming September 16th. That's right around the corner. And this free course in Japanese only, Seimi Mian, Hedera's head of Japan and Korea, explains what open access means, our path to decentralization, and how community can build on the network. And of course, you can enroll in that. But again, don't ever forget that Hedera has a key role also into Japan. And on top of that, as I pull up more about this, and that was just a tad taste about Hedera, I want to jump over to this. Let's pound it home again. Shout out to Rue Black over at Black Rue. We did a collaboration recently about Stronghold, Jasmy, okay? And I want to give a special shout out to Mine Crypto. So that's another guy you need to give a follow to. So Mine Crypto, he tagged us about, hey, look, there's this pairing. It's from, I know you're gonna laugh when you hear the exchange, Dodo, right? Dodo Bird or whatever it's called. But it's still valid, right? It's a Jasmy SHX pairing. All right. So it caught our interest. We did some videos. You're more than welcome to check out some of those videos. In the video, it doesn't just highlight just Jasmy. You have Jasmy, SHX. You have, believe XDC, XRP, and a little bit of Stellar. Okay. So we already established that. All right. Am I just reiterating everything I just shared? Am I wasting your time? No, but there will be guaranteed at least one person in the comments after this is all done that will troll this channel with some nasty comments. It is what it is. God bless you too. Here's why this is all important. Here's the updates. Yes, an update. So for one, if you were to look into this, Stronghold Japan is officially, has their account launched. We provide a comprehensive payment and financial infrastructure API platform, aimed at bridging traditional finance and Web3. We will share the latest updates on Stronghold and Japan exclusive campaigns. Again, the English is not perfect here because it's translated. This is all originally written in Japanese characters. And it says, please look forward to our future developments. And like it says here, Stronghold Japan, okay? So this is a real thing, and they posted this August 18th of 2025. I will go ahead and reshare this. And as I take you to this next part, I want to point out this as well. Here's another update. In this update, you will see some other eye-opening things. For one, Stronghold Japan launched commemorative, I can't even talk. You know what that word is, all right? AMA event. Sometimes I just read too much. I don't know if you guys understand this, man. Like with all the coverage I do, I read probably the equivalent of a book a week, like a thick book a week. And sometimes I read so much. Again, I've used this example a few years ago where the words, they just become, it's just text. I don't know. I can't even say it. Like I know the word, it won't come out. It's just so weird. Anyway, it's horrible. But anyway, sometimes it's just words on the screen. Okay, it's just words on the screen, text on the screen. But anyway, there's gonna be this AMA event. All right. So the date of this is August 26th, which is on a Tuesday. Which, let's face it, that's only 4 days from now. And I believe this is at UTC. So this is at 1830 to 1900 UTC. Now, if you're wondering, when exactly is that for your time zone? I've taken the liberty of trying to look that up for you. Let's see here. Japan time to EST. Let's see what that is. So that is going to be at 5:30 a.m. Eastern. My goodness. So in reality, that's going to be late night, early morning. So that's going to be at 2:30 a.m. Pacific, 5:30 a.m. Eastern on the 26th. Okay. So just throwing that out there as well. Okay. A little bit more about this. Let's pull this back as well. So there's speakers. There's Lisa Crypto Tokyo. There's Tammy Camp, that's awesome. Sean Bennett will be a speaker. And like it says, how to ask questions. Please post your questions as replies with SHX Japan AMA. Don't miss this valuable opportunity to participate. And they're going to have an X-Pace link. And so, yeah, this is literally going to be, to commemorate, if I said it right, commemorate this AMA event. Why couldn't I say that before? I don't know. It just wouldn't come out. It couldn't get it to come out. All right. So Tammy Camp, Sean Bennett, hosted by Lisa Crypto Tokyo. Okay. So this is right around the corner, and this is going to solidify Stronghold Japan. So again, Stronghold Japan. All right. Now we are going to kick it over to Jasmy. Okay. So for one, let's talk about this for a minute. I want to give a special shout out. With thanks to Cyan1K. We're going to zoom in about this. So for one, give him a follow. He can be followed over at Blake_Berry Hill. Just like the Cornwells, he's another guy that's in Oklahoma. So that's cool. He says, so Jasmy adds TRX/TronDAO JPN to their partner list at Nexus night, upcoming the 25th. And nobody seems to be paying attention. Well, a lot of times I'll watch this chat go on, and I don't really engage. But, I'll just see what people are saying. This is on the messages DM. And I saw it, and I was like, huh. And then I decided to chime in. I said, you know what? Interesting, because for me personally, I've been holding, like, 2 projects from the Tron ecosystem since 2021. And that is BTT, which is BitTorrent, and also WinkLink, the Win token. And we, I don't want to do so much deep dives into that. But anyway, I just kind of said, that's interesting, because at the end of the day, whether you're a fan of Tron or not, Justin Sun does have profound influence, and he is one of the key people for Southeast Asia, big time, right? Again, whether you're a fan of Tron or not. So nobody paying attention. We're paying attention to this. This is the latest in regards to Jasmy news coverage. Why is this important? You're going to find out here in a bit. So for one, check this out. We get further into this and we discover some things. So for one, again, like this guy, says, what does Tron do? what could be, what could a partnership between them and Jasmy look like? Justin Sun equals influence. Right, more than just influence. If you're not aware of it, here is Tron Dao Japan, official Japanese account for the Tron Dao. Founder is, in fact, Justin Sun. Okay, so that's worth pointing out. And on top of that, excuse me, if you jump over to KJ, right, we know about KJ and his role with Jasmy and Junction. Okay, he's the community manager, right? Well, KJ shared this on August 21st, yesterday. He says he's excited to announce that Remix Point and Tron Dao / Tron Dao Japan have joined as new partners for Nexus Core Night at WebEx 2025. Looking forward to see you all in Roppongi. Okay? And as you see here, we're going to blow this up. What's important to basically share is this event. So for one, you do see that Jasmy is highlighted in this, and as well as Junction. So the hosts are literally Junction, Jasmy, and BitPoint. Now here's the thing. Remember how we talked about SBI earlier, and we talked about BitPoint earlier? We said we come full circle back to this. Here's how we come full circle back to this. So for one, we jump back into this. Look what it says here. Excited to announce that Remix Point and Tron Dao. So while there's a lot of emphasis on Tron and obviously Tron Dao, don't forget the part about Remix Point. Now why? We jump over to Remix Point. Like it says, let's embrace change. Remix Point official account. We mainly focus on BTC, occasionally sharing information related to energy, storage batteries, and renewable energy. Now we know about, for example, Jasmy and their key partnership with Panasonic. And I've shared some really deep dives about, again, Tesla, the cell batteries, etc., etc. All right? You're going to see how this all comes full circle. So for one, we get into this. Again, Remix Point. Why even get into the whole thing about Remix Point? Well, it's as simple as this. Shout out to the man, the myth, the legend, one of the greatest Jasmy researchers there are. Like literally easily top 3, top 5 researchers. Little Bidman. Little Bidman, who can be followed over at LILBIDMAN, has posted numerous sources on why Remix Point is such a big deal. We'll start off with this one. So for one, check this out. This is good. Let's pull this up on the other screen. He points out this, and again, some people have kind of missed this. So for one, in the highlight, Remix Point Inc. It's a Japanese-based company mainly engaged in energy-related business and automotive business. Now, I know I shared this before in the past in some deep dives, but again, I am also aware that there's, fully aware that there's a whole new wave of people. To share that with a whole new wave of people. Or maybe you've never been aware of it yourself and you've been in Jasmy for years. So again, mainly engaged in energy-related business and automotive business. Energy-related business engages in the development and sales of energy management systems, energy-saving support consulting, sales of energy-saving equipment, as well as purchase and sale power. Automotive-related businesses engages in the development and sale of used car assessment system, buying and selling of used cars, related consulting, as well as the buying and selling of used cars. The company also engages in the operating of virtual currency. Look at that. Trading post related services. I mean, shout out to these guys that have already done all the research for us, right? Because that right there, for some people are still flooding Jasmy or sleeping on it. Virtual currency? Huh. All right, that's eye-opening, is it not? Absolutely is eye-opening. And as we take you back into this, here's the other point we're going to get into. January 12th, 2023. Why share this? Well, it's this one. Because what you see here is a little bit of man sharing that in this example, the World Economic Forum has a description of Remix Point. Yes, Remix Point. Remix Point, publicly traded company, is the owner of BitPoint Japan, which is Jasmy's main exchange in Japan. All right, let's talk about this for a moment too. Because in the process of doing so, while there's so much attention going on in Japan with everything we shared in this full, huge, long, deep dive outline on the show. Don't get it twisted. Jasmy plays a key role when it comes to the future of Japan, but again, people might not be aware of it because they're not getting some of that info. Maybe the only info you're getting is just charts. And nothing against people who do charts. But when we reference some things, going deeper into the mix, we uncover what really matters. And what really matters to me is recognizing the key players that are in the background. So while there's a lot of talk about what Japan is strategically doing with JPYC with stablecoins, or what you saw in the reference with Stellar, where they already been there and done that with Yen, or what you see with SBI and XTC, or you see with Ripple, obviously, and also SBI, or even Hedera, right? Understand that there's this, and again, it's the research that's in the background that nobody really wants to take the moment to talk about because, let's face it, the influencer, maybe even myself, unless we highlight something about price, it just doesn't get anybody's attention. And that's sad because we all want to know more about these key things. Check this out. So for one, Remix Point, like it says here, engages in development and sale of that energy. We already reiterated this, but again, they highlighted what we just shared. Okay, jumping back to this for a moment, we're going to take you over to this other key thing from Lil Bidman. This third topic. Let's enter in Sony with the bigger picture of quote unquote Remix Point. All right. January 13th, 2023. OES is a smart city technology, but might eventually work with electronic vehicles as well. I think Jasmy is with BitPoint Japan, of course, because the parent corporation, Remix Point, is an energy company. Sony CSL launches open microgrid project to automate peer-to-peer power distribution. Now, you're welcome to take your own deep dive into this, but something I want to point out for you guys is Tadashi Morita. And again, if you want to see this for yourself, I'll show another key thing. Because in the process of doing so, call it more homework, call it whatever you want. If you're very serious about your investment into Jasmy, you will understand the bigger picture of all this. So for one, basically, you're going to get some answers about some of these patents and, again, Morita. And I think, if anything, I'll just type it right here. So, yes, let's share some of this with you. This is old research, but it's so good. Is this gentleman right here that you see in the picture? His name is Tadashi Morita. He is a highly revered person in Japan that's part of the Jasmy management team. He used to be part of Sony as well. And so there's a few videos. You're more than welcome to pick which one you want to do. They get really deep. It's not going to be quick. But for one, why Tadashi Morita's Felica is Jasmy's true plug to Sony and Society 5.0. I bring nothing but receipts to that. Okay, some people say Felica is the key enabler of obviously the mind number. Draw your own conclusion. Again, if no disrespect to some people, but if your attention span is just 5 to 15 minutes, you're not going to get the answers you're looking for. Simple as that. This other one, Jasmy, Internet of Things, is the building blocks of smart cities, the big picture. Yes, that's an hour and a half deep dive. Of course, only 768 people watched it. Because let's face it, I got bronchitis. Ain't nobody got time for that, right? Well, maybe nobody got time for the deep dive research. This other one, Morita's patents will be used in CMOS sensors for IoT through semiconductors, a deep dive. Now, I want to show you guys something, all right? I'm going to pull this up for a second, okay? We're going to... I used to, do all these awesome intros. I had to stop doing them because people just didn't have the patience to, go past the intro. But I want to point out something. March 2nd, 2024, okay? We know that in January of 2025, all right, here's why I'm pointing this out. January 2025, we saw the biggest pump we ever seen for Jasmy as far as, market cap and where it went to. And in light of the semiconductor thing. So again, my timeline of what I was sharing with the research about, these things tied to semiconductors, they did come to fruition as far as seeing price action. You're going to want to learn more about why this still plays a key factor moving forward, late 2025, going into 2026, and so on. So again, you're more than welcome to listen to some of this stuff. A lot of the material, most of my material that I put out, unless it's breaking news, the material I put out is not time sensitive, and that's why I like to do these particular type of outlines. The other thing I want to jump into a little bit more about the whole thing with Jasmy and so on is to share some other key insight with you. So for one, let's jump back again to Little Bidman. Okay, let's pull this up. So we have this, and again, a little bit more about the whole thing, a remix point. So back in 2022, there was a closing session. How many times I've mentioned Genki Oda, if you're not familiar with him. He's, SBI Japan, he's BitPoint Japan, he's part of the FSA, right? The Japanese SEC, basically. He's also part of the World Economic Forum. But he's the director of the Japan Digital Space Federation, also the CEO and founder of BitPoint, Remix Point as well, and other sessions. So again, these key players are connected to Jasmy. Taking a little bit more into this, Genki Oda, founder of BitPoint Remix Point Energy Company, was at the DigiKirin event February 22nd, 2024. Governor Yoshimuri's session has, of course, been decided at that time. Interesting to see Web3 digital space will be utilized at the expo. Okay, what about this whole thing with Tron? And again, these key players that are part of this mix, I think we're going to see some things happen. And again, a great find by Cyan. Again, a lot of people were sharing it for whatever reason. All right, tad bit more about this before we wrap up the Jasmy coverage. February 12, 2024, translating the post. Given the name, one can't help but to think that Jazz M, and I point this out too, right, is related to Jasmy. However, the partnership between JSMC, SBI, and Remix Point is equally and perhaps even more intriguing. And you see all this stuff about, for example, at least at that time, shot to Level 8. Level 8 posted this a while back, that Toyota said they were investing in JSM just before the GX promotion organization was established. In these documents, member of the Semiconductor and Digital Industry Strategy Review meeting shares some key things. And in the key things, what do you see? Again, back to some of the stuff I talked about earlier. TSMC, as we know, right here in Phoenix, Arizona as well. You see Sony, Denso, and Toyota. So I think this is all worth sharing. This is all worth pointing out. People simply don't realize some of this. And when we get further ahead into it, back to Genki Oda and BitPoint, Japan's first Jasmy listing, like I said, I can't say the word anymore again. Part 3. It's horrible. What's wrong with it? It's to commemorate Jasmy back in October 25th, 2021. All right. What about, just hear me out on this. I know this is kind of speculative. What about to commemorate, for example, JPYD when that happens? You don't think that BitPoint would highlight them again? It's called, I think they would, because they already did originally back in October 2021. And we'll also see how that ages as well. All right, I think we're almost close to wrapping it up with the Jasmy coverage. There is a little bit more. So for one, it's this whole thing. Again, Jankshin Global official account. Like I said, join us for the evening where we top Web3 projects, innovators come together to connect, collaborate, and ignite the future of blockchain. And again, gold sponsor, Bifrost. I covered them in a deep dive in the past. And also you see here, Minara AI. I believe I'll also cover them as well. You see Remix Point. Again, all these big players, Tron. This is more than a side event. I like the terminology here. It's the core of a Web3 movement. Again, Jasmy being part of that core. Again, sometimes we're just all blindsided by the bigger players like the Ripples, the Stellars, the Hederas, the XDCs, and so on, and not realizing there's a big thing going on here obviously in Japan. So expect premium networking, meaningful conversations, and real innovation. Again, premium networking. Premium networking with who? Right? So again, Cointelegraph recognizes it. You may see some coverage, interviews and so on. I think that's important. But, the whole gateway to more of Southeast Asia, Justin Sun, Tron, this is a big, big deal. And especially with SBI also part of the mix. And again, Junction, Jasmy being part of that, those hosts. So this is the first time in a long time that we've seen BitPoint, and again, Genki Yoda constantly being mentioned here. I think that's very valid and very well worth pointing out when it comes to it. The last piece of the puzzle is this. Shout out to NeoX Tricks. Give him a follow over at Bana817. If you're new to the space, we did talk about stablecoin. So with the imminent arrival of Japan's Jasmy's stablecoin, here's what it could look like. Man, I'm in a tongue twister tonight. Forgive me. The JPYD will be the main stablecoin of the ecosystem. Right, because again, Jasmy has gotten this patent application back in December 2024, and basically, from what I've seen, approved, this year, April 2025. Again, it's backed by the yen. Again, backed by the yen. It will serve as a reference currency for transactions within the Jasmy ecosystem at the national level. This is so big, and people still will not give Jasmy their flowers being the Bitcoin in Japan. As a stable asset, it will be used for payments, exchanges, and large-scale value storage on the platform. The DD coin, also backed by the yen, which by the way means data democratization coin, if you're not aware of that abbreviation, will have a more specific and localized role. Users will be able to earn DD points through interactions via regional community applications. The stablecoin will therefore be reserved for certain internal or local transactions. However, it will be possible to convert DD coins into JPYD and vice versa, facilitating regional exchanges and encouraging the use of currency in local applications. Ladies and gentlemen, this is totally utility being put into motion. You may feel as though it's only limited to Japan. We've shared recently that they have a key plug also into South Korea. That's another deep dive. You're going to want to see that video if you haven't seen it already. It's the video titled in the video catalog for Maximus Crypto called "You Were Sleeping on Jasmy, 99% Won't Watch." And I was right. 99% people didn't watch it. But it doesn't mean I'm going to stop talking about Jasmy. I never will. In short, the JPYD and DD coin are complementary. Yes, complementary. Handshake. The former serves as the global base currency. Think about this. While the latter provides a stable solution for regional or specific transactions while remaining convertible. Obviously, Neo posted this March 7th, 2025. All right, so one of the key things I want to point out to each and every one of you guys is this. Listen to me. Have some real talk with me for a second. Take a moment. Are you going to be the type of person in which you jump out of these projects, or as the saying goes, paper hand these projects before the utility reaches mass adoption? Because times are getting too tough. And I get it. Times get tough for a lot of us. And it sucks. But how are you going to go about living with yourself? All right, not financial advice, but jumping out of projects before you see the utility take off. So at one point you believed in the utility of a lot of these things, and then all of a sudden your emotions give in and you say, forget it all. I'm done waiting. I can't wait no more. I mean, one person in my community posted this, I think it was on X or maybe YouTube. And he was talking about like this whole thing of crypto is like, it's not a sprint. It really isn't. It's like a triathlon to see how much of a distance you're willing to go. But so many people part of that triathlon, just like a real triathlon. God knows I need it, right? They will quit. Their knees will buckle. They'll be done. And that sucks. That sucks big time. So we're gonna wrap things up here shortly. Something I did want to point out This is from Chain Stats Pro. I meant to share this earlier. Some of you guys are wondering what kind of activity are we seeing with XRP. And again, this is a project that is built on the XRPL ecosystem. This is actual, analytics, utility-driven token. I'm not promoting some meme coin here. A shout out to Tokenizer and the crew. I think even Encash might still be promoting this part of this. I don't know. So shout out to Nick. But what you see here is on the 15-minute chart, you see basically it's tipping over more towards buying on the lower right-hand side of XRP, and there's a little bit more buyer volume compared to the sells. But you do see a big spike, at least from what it's mentioned here, like on KuCoin. And you could pick any exchange, well, not every, any exchange, but like you could pick, like this one says XRP USDT. You could pick like XRP with USD, and you can see what's happening on chain to prepare you, especially like, let's say you are doing like, leverage and whatnot. It helps put you ahead of the game. It's a nice tool to combine, in my opinion, for both short-term, long-term, and so on, because it gives you an idea if, like, an exchange is going to liquidate, if there's a lot that's coming into the exchange. Shout out to Mine Crypto and our brother in space, Sebastian. They track, for example, wallet activity, like the Coinbase 10 wallets, to see, like, what was it, like 25,000 QNT was just being injected in this wallet, that wallet, over and over and over again. You can see this. So instead of waiting for a content creator like myself to show on a live show what's going on, you can just see it for yourself in real time. So this is a premium service. They have tokenomics very similar to like how Quant does what they do with the Overledger. But it's very impressive. Very, very low market cap gem, in my opinion. And again, not a meme coin, actual data analytics platform with real utility right now. And it's built on the XRPL. So if you're interested in this, this is called Chain Stats Pro, and it's the stats token. And look more into it if you choose to do so. And again, this is over, if you want the site, we'll just go right to it. Here it is, Chain Stats Pro, where global markets connect. Join the traders and investors shaping tomorrow. Okay. Again, the ticker symbol is stats. And again, like you see here, you can see total net inflows for BTC, your XRPs, and so on. So stay ahead of the game with Chain Stats. And oh, by the way, we just mentioned Jasmy. They do have support for Jasmy if you want to see that for yourself. This is something I requested a while back, which is super cool. Yep, see that they do have support for Jasmy. So, very pleased with the team for integrating that to the Chain Stats platform. So that was requested by me. So I'm a humble guy, but kudos, I guess you could say, to me on that one. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna recognize some of the last comments. Actually, before I do, I gotta give myself a plug. This is my Patreon. If you guys are interested in this, I do post exclusive content over here on the Patreon, and basically, like it says, even deeper dives, plus group calls and my own watch list. We've had already our second open mic night, so again, join our community over there. Premium content. It's a lot of the content that I can't necessarily talk about on YouTube. One of the recent deep dives I covered was obviously BlackRock, and of course Larry Fink being selected as, let's face it, the new face, if you will, of the World Economic Forum. And I get really deep into some of the stuff. I call out some gems also on here that we got into. So there's quite a bit of info over there, and very nice community that we're building up over there. I'm very pleased with it. So come join the community if you choose to do so. It is a paid platform. I just thought I would mention that. So for years I've been providing nothing but free content. You know how it goes. But I always will be providing, of course, free stuff here that I normally cover. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that. some people don't like the idea that I share that. They just want everything to be free, but it is what it is. And yeah, let's kick it back to the comments. So we're gonna wrap up the show here in a bit. Let's welcome Rico Mart, and thanks for being here. 8:27. How long ago was that? A half an hour ago or so. Jasmy hasn't really ripped. It did a rip a hole in my pocket though. Well, Tate, let me say something. All right, this is nothing against you, brother. It's all about your entry points. Would you? You may not be cool with it. Would you like to share your average DCA into Jasmy? Like, what were your entry points? Because here's the thing, and this is to be fair. This doesn't apply to just Jasmy. This can apply to any project. Okay, I'm even guilty of this. Like my Cardano, I came in way, way too high in 2020. I think the beginning of 2022 or end of 2021. It's near all-time highs because I listened to my friend at the time. He's like, "Oh, he's just gonna keep ripping." So you buy the top. So did you come in at the top? Did you come in at close to 6 cents? And so as a result, for somebody like yourself, you're like, well, it's not really ripping. But it's your position. Because for somebody like myself, where my average DCA is 0.004, well, that's still one of my best top performers because it's simply A to 0, right? And then my last bag of Jasmy, I came in at 0029, right? So yeah, for somebody like me, it absolutely ripped. So, but I get it, and I just want to be transparent and fair. We could apply this to any project. Again, people with XRP. How many people came into XRP when it went to all-time highs, 365? They're disappointed right now. That's part of the game, is recognizing the utility in this stuff, especially in the bear market, and accumulating the living daylights out of it. Where you prepare for it when the next cycle happens, or if a utility run happens. So that's not me disrespecting you. I just, again, if you want to share that, cool. If you don't, you might not even be here anymore. Maybe you took off, you just came into the comments for a brief bit. I don't know. Dennis Lil, Project Acacia. Interesting that you mentioned Acacia. I did some subbing at a place called Acacia Elementary years ago. R3 Red Belly and Hedera hbar and private network Hashbeard. Nice. Rico Mars says 4 year cycle is over. Yeah, well, might very well be. We got a lot of NFL fans in here. So Philadelphia Eagles, we had Cleveland Browns. Interesting. All right. Jeff Gilby says, what's the difference between Chainlink and Quant? Oh boy, there's a lot of difference on that. So for one, Chainlink is probably the king of oracles. Quant doesn't just, that's not really necessarily their specialty. Quant with the overledger basically is just that. It's a ledger that sits over all ledgers. I used to believe that Quant was part of the unified shared ledger because XRP is the internet of value. Quant is the internet of truth. So it sounds like that's the shared ledger, but in reality, Quant is part of a bigger picture, which I'm very pleased about. And so it is the ledger of ledgers. It sits over all ledgers. It creates interoperability and allows you to switch for settlement on pretty much any particular platform. And I've shared demos about this. Like you can switch to the XRPL and settle in XRP. I have had another demo in the past, I think, of XDC. I've also shared IOTA. But we're talking about full interoperability with scale. I know that XRP has selected Axelar for EVM sidechains, the interoperability with that and so on. That's a little bit different form of interoperability, but Quant, it's not just the whole thing of interoperability. It's like literally it's tied into the foundation of the internet, like plugging everything into every standard of everything that is connected to the internet, but going through like never before in the history where have we seen like tokenized representations of the internet. Like my friend Jesse, Apex Crypto Consulting, has pointed out, what kind of value would the internet be if it was tokenized? Like you can't really put a price on that. So there's some key differences between Chainlink and Quant, and a lot of times the Chainlink community goes after Quant, but um, yeah, both will stand out in different forms of interoperability, but they're very complementing. A lot of people feel as though that they're two key competitors. Yes, they do compete, but my thing is they actually complement more than they compete. But yes, Chainlink, no doubt, king of oracles, Quant, king of interoperability. On the surface, that's where it's at. But Quant with API integration, API everything. Like, have you ever used Postman? Have you ever used? No, I'm not talking about the post office, but like Amazon Web Services. It's just there's thousands of API integrations, and again, a little bit of Q&2 You might seem like it is right now, but again, we get full regulations. That toll booth, a Q&T, little shards of that token will be used on a very limited supply of only about 14.5 million tokens. Price shock is imminent. I gotta be careful with that terminology because YouTube has hissy fits with certain things I say. So anyway, all right. So do you think Velo connect with all those? I can't. I mean, I would say so, but I can't give you an educated response on that because I haven't done a proper deep dive into Velo like some other channels. But go follow some of those channels, by all means. Francisco, Dennis Little, Hedera's hash sphere private networking being part of the testing. Okay. No, not him. I know he's gone after me multiple times. It is what it is. I pray for that ban. Sometimes you got to pray for your enemies, right? Anyway. But no, it's not him. It's God, what is that guy's name? They always promotes ICP like crazy. Maybe somebody else will post it. Anyway, I honestly forgot who it was. Love your content. All your research and time is very much appreciated, even though I lost out this cycle. Thanks. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Phantom. But I do thank you that you appreciate it. You want FUD all the time. Go, yeah. Hey man, they got some good burgers up in there. You know what they also got? Try out their fish and chips. Pretty good. That brings back some memories. The last time I ever went there, I went with my mom and my dad, and we ate fish and chips over there. And actually, that was the one and only time I ever been to Fuddruckers with my parents. And we had, actually, I'm sorry, that was the second time. I went one time by myself and had some burgers. But yeah, we have fish and chips. They have good fish and chips. Anyway. All right, let's go further down. See what other good comments you guys have, or if you don't have any good comments, that's all right too. Thank you, Phantom Soul, unless you're talking about somebody else. All right, so Elon Musk with the really interesting fonts. So I'm so ready for all this to start running. Phantom Soul, you are still early. Don't wait, you will miss out. Fair enough. Daniel Street Max, right click the text. There should be an option to click read. It's a voice that speaks the word for you. Oh, yeah. Well, I know how to say it. I don't know how to explain this. Sometimes I know how to say it. I can't get it to come out. Do you know what I'm talking about? I don't know if people, like some people that speak other languages, they know what I'm talking about. Like, not that I speak multiple languages, but like, I've heard this, especially my mom. She could have worked for the UN. My mom spoke 8 languages, seriously, 8 fluently, right? But she would mention it's like sometimes it's hard where you're thinking of a word and what it means in your native language, and then you're trying to put that out to sound right. Well, for me, it's like, yeah, obviously English is my main. So, but sometimes I can't get it to come out right. Like I know how it sounds, like internally in my brain, I know how it sounds, but sometimes I'll struggle. I'm like, I can't get it to come out. It's like, why won't it come out? I don't know. Little known fact, I don't mind telling you guys this. Maybe it sounds bad. I couldn't talk until I was 4 years old. Seriously, I couldn't talk till I was 4 years old. And the doctor, both my parents were like really worried about me and praying. They're like, oh my gosh, my son, he can't talk. And the doctor said, just try teaching one language to your son. Because my mom, I guess she was trying to teach me like 4 or 5 languages. And so I wish my mom would have stuck to like being bilingual, like maybe teach me like Tagalog or Spanish, like Tagalog and Spanish, and also English. I think I could have been able to handle that, but I mean it was just like she was around so many diverse people, like speaking Cebuano and Ilocano and Tagalog and Spanish and English, and then as a kid, even like my mom's fluent in sign language. Like we go to a place and she's doing all this stuff, with ASL, and I'm like, I just so I just kind of I guess kept to myself where I was just like, and then when she just focused on one, then boom, I just couldn't stop talking and that type of thing. But anyway, it was a worry. All right, so you heard Tron was going to go public, Selmo? Yep. What happens if BTC miners? What happens to them when quantum computing mines and mints? These are all what ifs. It's kind of like shout out to OG Crypto. He's not here. He always points out. He's like, what happens if what is it like EMT electronic like what happens when an EMT was to go over the United States and something knocks out our whole. I mean, there's all sorts of crazy possibilities. I mean, it's a good question. Unless the Jasmy tease was from Sony, absolutely. Yes. It doesn't mean that it has connections to BTC at all. It's just a title. But it's because they were the first to be regulatory compliant in Japan. All right. That's what they say. 46JDMA. I bought Jasmy months ago. I heard your deep dives and got a bag. Oh, very cool. You've been holding since 2021. Well, then you're like this guy, Elon Musk. Like, where he bought the top and he just kept DCAing, and it just kind of all balanced out, right? Hey, there's one of our Patreon favorites, Builder Bob. Hey guys, meet Builder Bob if you haven't met Bob. He's awesome. Good to see you, Bob. Hopefully all is well. 848. I don't know if you're still here, but good to see you, brother. Yeah, guys. I mean, if you want, come join us on our Patreon. We have a good time over there. Come join the community. We're trying to build it out and so on. But yeah, man, this is Builder Bob. Bob, the Maximus Crypto crew. Maximus Crypto, Builder Bob. All right. Elon Musk says, I started buying Jasmy at 30 cents. See what I'm saying? I literally just called this. Backed up the truck. Yeah, I remember he backed up the truck because he called me at 5 a.m. and he told me, you're like, buy everything. Buy Jasmy now. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad I did, man. That was one of the best back up the truck up moments, right? 2 a.m. Yeah. Hey, there's April Cornwell. Hey. Actually, she doesn't say it. I say that, but she's really saying, hey. All right, good to see you, April. I really mean that. Good to see you. The Cornwell clan. Wendy Wu. Hey, Wendy Wu, this is for you. Hold on, I'll read your comment. Wendy Wu, this is for you. Why do I keep saying that? Because I'm going to take this media asset off. All right, hold on a second. All right, Wendy Wu, ready for this? I don't know if you're still here. Wendy Wu, I present to you the Wu-Tang. Bow. Wu-Tang. It's on the brain, right? Yes. I would have totally been sporting that tomorrow in New York for DJ Premier, right? Yes, DJ Premier. I've had this medallion or whatever you want to call it since high school. So I've been rocking this since '96, since my sophomore year of high school. I'm not kidding. I've had it the longest time. Anyway, probably when all this stuff blasts off, I get a better chain, right? Anyway. But yeah, Wendy Wu says, hey, Max, love your work. Such an amazing researcher. Thanks, Wendy. That's awesome of you. Hopefully you're having a great Friday. You bought it at 0.002. Awesome. Yeah, 2.9. But we get it. All good. Bids from 1971 earlier. Oh, you like that one? Yeah, that was a good outline. Curious to see what XRP does here. It's 2.993 right now. Looks like it's setting the floor again. Is Hedera involved with Jasmy? Could very well be. I can't remember if we did an outline about this. No, we did an outline with me and Rob Mass, and it was about how Jasmy was basically doing the same thing that Hedera was doing right now. But no, they're not with necessarily Jasmy, but they could be. You never know. I mean, there could be like NDAs or something like that, but I'm gonna lean towards no for the current time being. All right, Wendy Woo, happy Saturday from Down Under. Oh wow, awesome! Loving your collabs with Root and Crypto Future. I would say this. So outside the United States, I think according to my analytics, I think it's like number 3. So second place is UK, but you know, Australia is my third largest base. I get a lot of Aussies from down under, which is really cool. Shout out to Dave. Yes, Dave, if he's watching, he's also a part of the Patreon. But yeah, I'm glad you're connected to some of the people I'm networked with. Right on. Hey, Heat Round, good to see you, brother. I know I missed the Tuesday show. Had to go out to the desert and rescue a friend. It is what it is, but you know, that's what you got to do sometimes. So as a result, I missed that Tuesday X Space, but be glad to be at the next one. XRP has been following the price of BTC. Asia's selling XRP right now for a spell. I don't know. I don't know what that says, but I'm sure. Actually, I do. I know what that says. That says, boil it, mash it, stick it in the stew. Jasmy, not a scam. Let's go. Actually, it just says boil it, mash it, stick it in the stew. Anyway, that's cool. You having a little fun with that, Michael Cornwell? Already got some Jasmy, cap and gown. Oh, nice. Blankety blank, love Jasmy. Move me to the land of the rising sun. Oh, yeah. Yes, I love that song by the Animals, The House of the Rising Sun. Are you not going to mention the article about Apple? I guess not. I mean, I've mentioned some articles from Apple a while back. I mean, did I skip over something? Maybe I did. I mean, give me the benefit of the doubt. Sorry. Please don't shoot me. Justice for Peanut. Thank you, Max. I love all your brilliant research. Makes us all look smart. Hey, you're welcome. Thank you. Loco Mansell. Hey, Max, do you know anything about... No, I did see that pop up on Paul Barron. I'll have to look more into that, for real. Oh, well, Possum Outdoors. Woo! Oh, Possum in the house. Thanks for the live update, Maximus. Well, thank you, OL Possum Outdoors. That's an awesome fish you got there, man. Wow. That's a beauty. Awesome. Stargazer, whatever happened with that laptop Jasmy was going to come out with? That's a good question. You know, maybe that gets addressed here soon. Who knows? The Patreon is fantastic. You really enjoy it. Thanks, Billy Bob. That's awesome. What the hell? I just got the live notification. Is it over? No. I think you're a little late on. Maybe you know. Maybe there's a delay. I don't know. Hey, Rod. Good to see you, man. Always good to see you, brother Rod. I mean that, man. I always see you up in the comments on the shows, and you know, one thing I do like about you, you're not a toxic person. You do sometimes agree with stuff I have, and sometimes you don't. But I'm glad that you can share your perspective. You know, where we can agree to disagree about stuff. But always good to see you, Rod. You've been a long time supporter of this channel. Don't ever think I don't realize that. I always recognize who's typing in the comments and stuff like that. So good to see you, Rod. Really, really mean that. And yeah, see, you know, it's the next day over in Australia, right? So a lot of you guys are coming in from Australia. Awesome. Raymond, I can't pronounce your last name. I'm sorry. Came in about 0.012, kept tapping or topping at 0.014. Oh, okay. So at least you got to see it do close to a 5x from that point at one point. It's not bad. CryptoTours 333, what's up? I can't wait to see what Jasmy will do. Yeah, me too. People saying what's up to Rod. Local Man Cell says Chainlink better than Flare or two different animals. Well, I get the comparison, right? Both are oracles, but I think obviously Flare's the chosen one for the most part when it comes to, XRP. But at the same time, Chainlink has a deal with Ripple. So I think they do. I think you just answered your question. So they do complement each other, and they do play a key role. You know, so yeah. All right, OL Possum Outdoors. You want some fine dining fish? I can make that happen, old son. None of them farmed raised fishes. Nice. That's awesome. Very cool. Yeah, hey man, a Friday fish fry? Are you kidding me, man? Some good old fish and chips. But I gotta be careful. I just gotta have the fish and then no chips. Trying to stay away from the carbs. It's a struggle, right? Anyway. Um, 10 cents to 15 cents should be great, Max. The man must say, bro, you are the bomb diggity. Your content deep dive tops. Thanks, man. I think you're trying to attempt a rhyme there, so I guess I'm the hippity hip hop. You don't stop a rockin' to the bang bang boogie. Say up chuck the boogie to the rhythm of the boogity beat. Something like that, right? Elon Musk caught a nice long 2.976 for XRP. Let's see if it sticks. Yes, that'd be nice. And speaking of which, if you guys want, you can do, and don't do it with your main portfolio though. Don't ever do that. But you can do longs. Follow this right here. You get $10 free in USDT just for signing up. And then on top of that, you can choose, for example, your XRPs, your XLMs, whatever. You could do shorting. You could do, you could do longs. Never recommend you doing your long-term nest egg. Don't tap into that. Only do what you could afford to lose, because you don't know what the heck you're doing. You're gonna lose. But you can follow certain copy traders on there that have a high success rate, and that'd be a thing I probably would recommend over just not knowing what you're doing. But I would learn leverage trading and so on. There's quite a few channels where you can learn more about that. But anyway, BTCC is the platform. Been around since 2011, and they've had no major incidents. They have had no hacks, so that's cool. No love for Kima Network anymore. It's not that I had no love for it. It's just I never really properly covered it right. So maybe covered it once. Anyway, if Kima is what you want, go check out King Channing. He covers it. Hey, Cool Cat Crypto. It's been a while, man. Good to see you, Cool Cat. Boom. Cool Cat Crypto. Cool Cat Cosmos. Warcat Crypto. How many names do you have technically? I think you have 3. Warcat Crypto, Cool Cat Crypto, and Cool Cat Cosmos. 200,000 Jasmy for long-term hold. I would say so. I mean, it just depends on what do you define as long-term? $1 or more? Because if that's the case, I mean, 200,000. That's yeah. So is there any staking for Jasmy? A while back, I don't know if KuCoin still has that, but you have to be outside the United States, and I know you're not, because I know you're in Michigan. I'm not going to type it. I'm not going to click that next comment from Elon Musk, because YouTube will have a hissy fit. Yes. Hello. All right. Will says, I like Jasmy. Did loads of research years ago on it. The Sony connection and the team also holding. Very interesting project. Deep dive, guys. Nice. Dave's not here, man. Oh, yeah. And Chong's voice, Tommy Chong's voice. Elon Musk's not here, man. He's got some. Dave's not here, man. That's funny. Did Jasmy do the laptop or provide the data? We'll have to circle back on that. I have to kind of maybe take a refresher on that myself. Visioneer, one of the most profound technologies of our lifetime. They will release a laptop as a partner, like Xiaomi do partnerships a long time ago. Okay. So here's the story. He really wants us to see it. All right. Well, I'm actually kind of. That's right, because on YouTube you can't share links, but on X. See how that works? All right. Let's see what you got. I don't know if I can click on that and bring it over here. So let's see. Let me see if we can. Let me see if I can actually just take that link that you have. Yeah, it's not loading up the chat. Dang. All right. Well, that's the only thing about it. It doesn't allow me to click on the link. It's not a cop out. It's just a reality. So barchart.com. I'm gonna say Apple CEO Tim Cook says the technology they're developing will be one of the most. We have Visioneer. We haven't shared tonight. We have shared this numerous times on this channel. You probably weren't here for this. We have shared this, man. Yeah, but I'll try to pull it up. Hold on. This is gonna be hard to pull up. Ah, boy, oh boy. Barchart.com story. Man, that's a long URL. All right, I'm just gonna say barchart.com Tim Cook. Let me see if I can pull that up. Barchart.com Tim Cook. Oh, this is a new one from 8 days ago. Okay, I see where you're coming from now. I see you. All right, we'll share this then. Shout to Visioneer, Maximus Crypto sideline reporter, with this breaking news report. In fact, we'll make it even more fun than this. Hold on. We'll make it more fun than that. Gotta have some fun, right? We'll go a little more extended. It's WrestleMania, baby, right? It is. Hold on a second. Yes, breaking news report. Somewhat breaking news. Anyway, shout out to Visioneer for this one. And he has some things that we're going to jump into. And basically, what is it? Well, it's this straight from barchart.com. Let's go ahead and pull this up. And as you see here, it's another particular posting. August 15th. Okay, so not quite breaking to our channel, right? It says here, Apple CEO Tim Cook says the technology they're developing will be one of the most profound technologies of their lifetime. And actually, give me a moment to stop the share on that one. So, Friday, August 15th, in Apple's quarter 2025 earnings call. Let's blow this up a little bit more. Tim Cook doubled down on the company's commitment to artificial intelligence, AI, framing it as both a transformative technology and a natural extension of Apple's product philosophy. Cook's remarks position AI, not as a standalone product line, but as deeply integrated layer across Apple's ecosystem, powered by its own silicon and fortified by its privacy-first principles. He says, quote, "We see AI as one of the most profound technologies of our lifetime. We are embedding it across our devices and platforms and across the company. We are also significantly growing our investments. AI is a core growth driver." The remarks come as Apple continues to face a rapidly evolving competitive landscape in AI, with rivals like Microsoft, Google, and OpenAI pushing cloud-based generative AI tools to the forefront. Apple's strategy, however, appears to hinge on device intelligence, leveraging its custom Apple silicon chips to run advanced AI models directly on iPhones, iPads, and Macs without relying solely on the cloud. Cook emphasized that Apple's approach is about making advanced technology accessible, echoing a familiar refrain in the company's history from the Macintosh to the iPhone. He specified Apple has always been about taking the most advanced technologies and making them easy to use, accessible for everyone. And that's the heart of our AI strategy. All right, a little bit more about this. Apple Intelligence, early rollout and upcoming features. Apple's branded AI initiative. Apple Intelligence has already delivered more than 20 features, including visual intelligence, photo cleanup, and advanced writing tools. Cook noted the company is also making good progress on a more personalized Siri, a feature he says is slated for release in 2026. The underlying tech runs primarily on device thanks to the efficiency and performance of Apple Silicon. For more demanding AI tasks, Apple's private cloud compute, also powered by its own chips, handles the processing, allowing for greater capabilities while still serving or preserving user privacy. Well, of course, that part stands out. I know I'm reading a lot of this, but it's my first time seeing this, I should say. I've done another one about Tim Cook in the past, but not this recent. Cook was clear in positioning privacy as a center pillar of Apple's AI value proposition. The private cloud compute architecture designed to minimize the amount of user data leaving the device is a counterpoint to competitors that require an extensive cloud data processing. CEO argued that this hybrid approach, balancing on-device AI with selective, secure server-based computing, offers the best way for users to experience the full potential of generative AI without sacrificing security or personal data. My goodness, I have my AI or my pop-up blocker ad block plus, excuse me, and it's like blocking 463 of these pages. I don't know if I ever go to barchart.com again. I'm just being honest. A little ridiculous. So investment in market implications. While Apple did not disclose specific dollar figures for its AI investments during the call, Cook's comment that the company is significantly growing its AI spend suggests an accelerated development roadmap. Analysts, I should say, see Apple's AI integration as a potential catalyst for device upgrade cycles. Awesome. Particularly as consumers begin to associate premium smartphones and computers with advanced personal AI capabilities. This push would or could also help Apple defend its high margin hardware business against a backdrop of slowing global smartphone growth. If successful, AI powered features could extend the life cycle of Apple devices in the market and strengthen the ecosystem lock-in that has already been key to Apple's long-term profitability. This part, I guess I will read this. Looking ahead, because 2026, Jasmy always gets brought up in 2026. Apple's next major software releases in 2026 will be a critical test of whether its AI strategy resonates with consumers and developers alike. The integration of AI into Siri, along with more contextually aware and personalized devices or device interactions, could reshape how users engage with their devices on a daily basis. And if there is more, then that's it. All right, that was a lot to read. All right, glad to share it. Shout out to Visioneer for this, and yeah. All right, why is Quant supply so low and it's only $100? Kind of been over that a few times, but yeah, I'm glad that Elon Musk is engaging because the market cap is around 1 billion. For Quant's use case, the market cap is low as F. That's what I was thinking. It's kind of weird. Big Pepper, yeah. All right, let's go further down. We can do some fish, blackened gator on a bed of rice, crawfish. Man, all this stuff sounds good. You're making me hungry. I haven't actually ate hardly anything today. I always have people over getting fed. Hunt some hogs. Haha, I knew you was a good old boy. Thanks for all of the work you do. No problem, man. Yeah, all this stuff sounds good. I love Cajun, I love Creole, all that stuff. But I got to be careful with too much of the rice because the carbs and stuff. Anyway, I got some receipts for that. Daniel Street, are you Daniel as in Jesus oil? Daniel, try to confirm with me. All right, AI is needed for the surveillance data, and Cool Cat is smiling. Daniel Street says Siri is Apple's robot. Interesting. Oh, it's you. Well, we finally meet to a sense, huh? So you're the one, huh? You're the one. You're the one blowing up my inbox like it's Grand Central Station. Yes, I'm looking at you. wherever you are, not that far from me, I guess, apparently in Glendale. You know, we're not in Scottsdale. We're out in Pleasantville. I'm in Northwest Phoenix, actually. But, yeah, I see you. I see you in the comments all blowing up my inbox. You think I don't know what you're trying to do? You're trying to get me to make an ongoing series of IoT for Jasmy, aren't you? Yeah, you are trying to do that. You're trying to make it where Jasmy trends like 24/7, 365 by having Maximus Crypto put all his time and energy into Jasmy because Jasmy not the scam or school. Well, I may consider that, and I may not consider that because I got a lot of things I got to cover, my friend. But if this would have been maybe 2 years ago, that was definitely Maximus Crypto. Anyway, you have a book for me? Yeah, I'm sure you do, man. You got a lot of stuff you sent me. So, and a lot of it's just like, hey, man, look at this, look at that. Watch this big old long 2-hour deep dive about this. This is connected to this, that, and this. And then if you connect this to Oracle, you'll find a personal data locker hidden in the slums of Shaolin where Wu-Tang Clan strikes again, where, you know, Hara and all these guys will bring honor to whatever. I don't know. I'm getting carried away with this. We need to wrap up the show. It's getting goofy. I do thank you, Daniel, for connecting. I'm glad that you did solidify who you are. And I do appreciate you, brother. I just can't answer all of everybody's DMs. You know, it's just the platform is growing, and so many DMs is kind of crazy. Anyway, but anyway, old Possum says, "Hell, well, I guess steak." Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that sounds good to me. After what I give you, you might reconsider the IoT series. Okay. I mean, I get it. I mean, I just want you to know I can't necessarily cover Jasmy like every single day. This is not 2022, 2023, 2024. But I do try to cover it if I can, hopefully like once a week. Because I do have quite the lineup of stuff. So, you guys like all that? I'm glad you guys had a fun time. So, this is for all the Jasmy people out there. You know, this is the closing outro, as the saying goes. So, you've probably seen this before, but you're going to see it again. We're going to play it back to back. Two Jasmy music videos. It's going to be great. And smash that like on your way out. Consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so. Always good to see this guy in the comments. I really mean that, Cool Cat. I really mean that, man. You're one of the OGs in the space. Even Michael Cornwell, like sometimes we're on the phone, he'd be like, wonder what happened to the cat. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't know. He's probably out in BSV land somewhere. So I don't mean that in a bad light, but that's a good thing. You both have hip-hop Tourette's, and we are on hip-hop Tourette's. I never heard it called that before. But anyway, that's funny. All right, so yeah, we're gonna play this closing one. What do we have for you guys? Well, it's this. Here we go. Almost got it. Almost got it. Just gotta get this primed and ready to go. Yes, we're gonna do this one first. This one's good. Got a little bit of language. We're all adults here. All right. Yes, we're all adults here. YouTube has a hissy fit. Here we go. This is for all the Jasmy holders.
Drop the top and let the sun shine in. With the wood grain, let the Twinkies spin. Get you a glass, mix the Coke and the hen. It's quite alright with the draw in the wind, with the draw in the wind. Got me a 73 Chevy, put dubs on that bitch. Candy, apple, green, niggas loving this shit.
Loving this shit.
And when I'm in it, I'll act a fool. You don't like how I'm living, quick to do you, cut a fool ass nigga. Weighing in at about $1.65, and a nigga can fuck, plus the boy gets live.
That's right.
You know legs, wings, and short thighs. Beat 'em up, then switch sides. Hot hole worker Sean John below to the floor. He oughta enjoy with the loaded 4-4. Be sure and acquire more for you fuck with mine. Disrespect, I'll disconnect your line.
With a 6 watt, when shit's hot, you get shot. The fire, the fury, you fuck with it not.
You're stopping the grace, get out my space and
Face.
for me and my ace to lay down the whole place.
Recognize.
This is the verbalized surprise. Fucking with me.
Wrong way to wise, nigga.
Pose, show, pose, goals.
Big old bank rolls, that's all the nigga knows.
Throw your elbows. I'm sicker than I suppose. Hold them chose, cause my jury froze. You know how it goes, these young niggas don't want it like this. Go off and get your get to silence the chit chat. Blast, so pass, outlast, bout cash. More sicky, talk tricky, to the trick like trash. No rilla, a gorilla flow for most thriller. Come clean, looking mean, but you ain't no killer. Drop the top and let the sun shine in. With the wood grain, let the Twinkies spin. Get you a glass, mix the Coke and the hen. It's quite alright with the draw in the
Ain't so hard, ninjas wanna find me. So hard ninjas wanna find me, but first ninjas gotta find me. What's 50 grand to a ninja like me? Can you please remind me? Train so hard, this stuff crazy. Y'all don't know that don't stuff faze me. The nets could go 0 for 82, and I'd look at you like this stuff gravy. Train so hard, this stuff weird. We ain't even supposed to be here. Since we here, it's only right that we'd be fair. Psycho, I'm liable to go Myco. Take your pick, Jackson, Tyson, Jordan, gang sing. Train so hard, got a broke clock. Rollies that don't tick-tock. Ardemars that's losing time, hidden behind all these big rocks. Train so hard, I'm shocked too. I'm supposed to be locked up too. You escaped what I escaped. You'd be in Paris, training hard to. Train so hard.